Hey,
So have you guys ever played Raid Shadow Legends?
I wanted to ask you guys about your masturbation habits because apparently that's the thing now.
That was a pretty funny observation. Now I have to go watch 20 fucking hours of Mormon stories just to make a super cut of that shit.
what are your? Well, we aren't females. We don't care about our masturbation.
Oh, that's right.
In fact, it could be harassment.
Man, that's funny though. That's a good observation. Like,
Well,
that's weird.
he's always weird with like sexual jokes and stuff like that. It seems like his jokes were always like funny was the second priority. The first priority was to bring up sex, right? Like the TikToks he did with Kara, where the whole joke was him saying, "I bet you watch porn," and she says, "No, you watch porn," and then that's it. Like it wasn't a joke. It didn't even resemble a joke nearly. And Kara had mentioned, yeah, that one was his idea, and I'm like, I believe it because that's fucking weird. It's like the guy that's like, man, wouldn't it be funny if like you grab my dick? Just kidding, right?
Psych.
This is what we're talking about.
Kidding,
Sorry,
right?
Troy, if we're telling tales out of school, but we're such a tiny little tunnel over here. Nobody will find us until the cops of New York City come and start digging us out.
You got your little chat open there.
Goodness,
too,
I got a chat open there. And Mormon Stories Podcast, Impossible Mission. Why don't you go ahead and read that if you could? I'm gonna grab my phone.
Mormon Stories Podcast, Impossible Mission. In the last 6 months, find a video where Dylan does not insert a completely unnecessary discussion of female masturbation into the interview. I'm watching the live of Alyssa Grenfell, and sure enough, Dylan finds a way to work it in again, just like he did with Hartley. Seeing his history with Rosebud, I think Dylan may have a fetish here. Holy cats, he did it again, like only 20 minutes later. I guess he didn't know how she ducked the topic the first time and just had to bring it up again. I think guys like that, seriously, they don't notice that the topic was intentionally ducked. They just think, oh yeah, she must not have noticed. So let's talk about your vagina again. Please, can we talk about your vagina? Just like joking. I actually had a coworker who told me that she went out on it was like this weird overtime on a weekend, and it was her and one other guy, and the other guy kept saying stuff to her like, and he's like a known creeper kind of. He kept saying like, wouldn't it be funny like if we had sex out here? I mean, I'm just kidding, of course, but like, wouldn't it be funny? And she's like, huh, yeah. I mean, they're both married, obviously, and he just keeps kind of bringing it up. But I was joking. Like, you were joking, right? Yeah. She's like, about what? About the affair. What? Yeah, I'm just kidding. I would never cheat on my wife. Like, and each time she ducked the topic, he just didn't get it. In his mind, it was like, oh yeah, I'm sly enough that she didn't notice I was trying to fuck her.
That's funny.
Yeah, you passed the test. It's one of those.
Yeah, I was testing you. I never would have cheated on my wife. I was just seeing if you would.
So are you surviving a blizzard up there, Jerry?
It hasn't hit. It was supposed to hit like 3 hours ago.
Huh. Please tell me it doesn't.
Yeah, I don't know.
I mean, like, drive up that direction.
A couple hours.
When are you going up there?
The band's playing a gig in Jackson, Wyoming, and we're driving up in a blizzard.
Tomorrow. Yeah, I don't know if you guys are gonna make it.
Yeah, it's gonna suck.
Well, the blizzard right now is pretty far west of me, and your route to Jackson Hole is decently far east of me, so hopefully it doesn't hit you.
Yeah, but that's where it's coming in. But
yeah, that's where it's going.
Yeah.
So, have you guys actually noticed him go into that like a ton? I've noticed it here and there, but
I've watched very little Mormon stories over the past few months.
I think that if Troy made me woke to it, I'd start hearing it now. But he said again like 20 minutes late. Holy cats, he did it again like 20 minutes later. You guys already read that part?
Yeah.
What else? He said maybe. Oh, it's all working here for Disney, but man, my HR rated man seems creepy and inappropriate to me. Oh, goodness gracious.
Last week.
Isn't it great that you're ex-Mormon, so now you can female masturbate. Like you can put your fingers inside of you and twirl them around and just not feel bad about it. Oh,
Yeah.
Last week I was visiting my friend who had some friends over who are pretty typical, like internet style Exmos. I mean, I guess they're not, they're not raging or whatever, raving or whatever, but they were talking about grown stories. They brought up John Dolin. Somebody brought it up, and I just like, for me, it was like really nice because they talked about how like, God, he's a terrible interviewer. And then I brought up something about like, yeah, it's just trauma porn, and they all went, huh. That's a really good term for that. It really does seem kind of like he wants people to express as much, and that's kind of nice. I felt like I had a little moment of like, I think I'm getting through, but they're the Mormons on mushrooms people, so God only knows I'll just go take a bunch of mushrooms and forget it all.
He creams his pants anytime there's a new, that Brad Wilcox stuff. He was like, "This, oh God, yeah, oh fuck, God, yeah, this is gonna be the next November policy. Oh fuck."
Well, they
The only
jumped all over.
the only thing he likes more than talking to a woman about masturbating is talking to a woman about how masturbation makes her feel ashamed.
He jumped all over that bishop in their announcement. They did that in the rip off of Mormon News Roundup, which
I saw. Did he just do like a little TikTok thing? I just watched a little bit of it. Is that the same bishop? And because like if that's the thing, the guy, I mean, like if you were trying to give the impression that you are utilizing this event for as much personal exposure as possible, you're doing a good job. Because like if you wanted to say, look, this is just a thing, leave me alone, it's private, this is my personal faith journey, putting out that fucking TikTok with your family was a bad move. But like obviously, I don't know, they know what's up.
I don't know. I guess it would be kind of hard. Like it at the same time, I guess it'd be like if all of a sudden you blew up and were very popular in a big crowd of people, it just kind of speaks to the human ego that you would want to, let's keep this thing going.
Well, like I said, that's the other thing is like the part where he had his brother record it. Because like, because like earlier we were speculating, did he know? Like, did his brother do this without his permission? It's like, nah, I think we know that was set up.
Oh,
like
he did. He definitely did.
Where it's like, see, and like that for me, it's like, come on. Like,
so the Midnight Mormons covered him some more, and they claim to know that he is a Republican conservative.
That would be the funniest thing ever. I hope that's true, just because I'd love for him to go on like Mormon stories, and John's like, well, what are the tell me the immoral things that they made you do that made you quit? And he's just like, yeah, they told me to push the vaccine and say nobody could come to church without a mask, and I thought it was fucking bullshit.
I don't. Well, the immoral thing that they wanted me to do is they wanted me as a bishop to ask women about whether or not they masturbated. And I just didn't think that was right.
So is your wife feel free to do that now? She do it all the time. Start drilling that
it's probably great. Now your wife
she
can like
look you right now and Julian the Bean and start saying, hey, this is pretty sweet now that we're an ex-Mormon.
Does your wife, as they say, flick the proverbial bean? You think John Dolin's dirty talks?
This is John Dolin. I'm here to talk about Jill and the Bean.
Sex talk with John Dolin.
He sounds like Mr. Mackey.
Trauma, cause, and harm, and Jill and the Bean.
Shame is bad, okay? Female masturbation is totally acceptable, okay?
Call it flicking the bean, Jill and the Bean.
If you'd like to come on my show and talk about female masturbation, that'd be real great. I'd like to remind everybody we are a 501c3. We are doing a public service. Please send us your money. Why did he turn into Mr. Mackey?
It was just like Chris's thing for a second. It sounded like Mr. Mackey. So then I was like, let's go all the way.
He has that. Like if he
does have that.
If you tighten up Mr. Mackey, swells up the head. We always said he had success head. Remember that? He's got the Conan O'Brien success head type deal going on. Which reminds me of the clip of Conan O'Brien. I'm going to pull it up just because it's funny. But Kwaku thinks that guy's going to start a families podcast because he started putting out a bunch of stuff of like, here's me and the kids, and we're going to go eat food on Sunday now.
Yeah, I saw that.
Kwaku said he wanted to start. He wanted to become his manager and make money with him because it's going to be huge.
Kwaku probably has a theologically sound argument for priestcraft.
Well,
It's
Kwaku
like
said
ready in his back pocket. Like, it's okay to give priesthood blessings for money. Here's why. Have you read Isaiah 24:5?
Kwaku said that he was fine with the guy if he was just into that new agey I am one Christian stuff. If anybody goes into that, they're cool. And I'm like, yeah, that's what we know. That's what you're into, Kwaku. But
it's corny, but at least it's,
it's Kwaku. It's what that's kind of what I was always trying to dig into, of what he really is or isn't, type deal. But because if he ever announced he was leaving the church, it's because he already did like a solo podcast one time talking about how we all need to become one in the body of Christ and no more of this you guys versus us guys Christians type stuff, and we need to unify with the one, which is all that good Gnosticism.
I do think that Christians need to start considering Mormons their friends, to some degree, because I'm like, anytime you'll see in these Christian groups, like, people arguing about the insane postmodern hellhole that we live in, and someone's like, yeah, I'm a member of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. Fuck off, Mormon. We don't want you here. You believe you're going to be God one day. Yeah, but I think that I won't ever make arguments for abolishing the age of consent. How about we just both
They've had way bigger fights lately with like the Winger guy and the Apologia, whatever church, and
they've always had big fights with.
Well, they still just keep going harder than maybe with the old Exmos. Then they were talking about the Exmos the other night. They brought up Jonathan, they brought up me, and they said that we're not Exmos. At least that's what Carden said. And I don't know that I go by a term at all, but if someone says Exmo, I don't shudder at that.
Well, because it's just technically true.
Yeah, exactly.
Like I just go with the most descriptive term, because I always hear these people talking about titles, like, I don't know if I really identify with Exmos. Like, well, okay, are you Mormon? No. Did you used to be Mormon? Yes. Okay, that's what it means.
That's about all we can do for you. Post-Mormon,
I like
Ex-Mormon.
post-Mormon.
I like the term Mormon because the Mormons dropped that, and it means you're ex-Mormon if you're Mormon.
I know.
I'm holding on to Mormon because that's not LDS.
I just go with the term technically Mormon.
Just like we could change our channel to Midnight Mormon. We should go by Midnight Mormons. That's what we are.
No, that's what I think. I think we should take the name off of them.
That'd be the funniest thing ever.
My little sister's answer whenever somebody asks my little sister, because she lives in other places in the country, she's ever since she's been a grown up, she got the fuck out of Utah, and everyone's, oh, where are you from? Utah. Are you Mormon? And her answer is, well, not on purpose. I think is the best answer.
I was talking to a girl on one of the online things, and she moved to Utah from like Virginia or something. I said, how's it been living around the Mormons and learning Mormons? And she got pissed. Like, what are you talking about Mormons? I don't know nothing about Mormons. What do you mean Mormons? You're weird. Like, what? Okay.
What an odd thing to get triggered at.
That world gets weird, but I've got a good old clip on that later. Have you guys seen this? This is a guy who wrote with Norm on Saturday Night Live a whole lot, being interviewed by Conan.
Jim, hold on. Okay. Hold on. Much has been said about Jeffrey Epstein. Terrible things.
No, Jeff. I'm talking about Jeff Epstein, the New York financier.
Yes, we're talking about the same Jeff Epstein.
No.
Yes.
No.
Yes.
I never heard.
Oh, it was a big story in the news. Huge.
No.
Yes, for you to say no one ever
Jeff
said
Epstein.
Yes.
Jeff Epstein.
Yes, the financier.
The island.
Yes, he had an island that I've never been to. Yeah.
I'm pretty sure, with respect, if there was some news about Jeff Epstein, I would have heard.
No, I don't know what rock you've been under. It was a huge story, and Jeff Epstein I have to tell you, he's gone. He's dead.
What do you mean?
He's dead.
He's dead.
He's dead.
Sorry, nice try. If Jeff Epstein were deceased, I'm pretty sure I would know about it. Now, I admit I've not, probably since the pandemic, I've not talked to him.
That would make sense. That would make sense. He's been dead for a number of years, Jim.
I'll tell you, there's one easy way. Let's call Ghislaine Maxwell.
No, we're not calling Ghislaine Maxwell.
Okay.
She's in prison. She's in prison for crimes she committed with Jeff Epstein.
Ghislaine's in prison.
Yes, stop calling her Gillette. How do you know these people? Jim.
Conan.
Jim.
All right.
Jim.
This feels very Norm.
That was no, like yeah, no, like I want AI to turn that into Norm doing that exact same bit only on The View, and it's Barbara Walters.
Yeah, I love that.
That's some very Norm humor right there.
Yeah.
I never get bored every like I could watch that clip of Norm on The View, like Bill
The
Clinton,
Clinton
he
one?
killed a guy. I thought it was a matter of record.
Yeah.
Barbara
stop
Walters is
saying
such a
that.
humorless bitch. Like it's really the thing. It's like none of those girls were like, okay, this is a joke. We can play along, and then people will laugh because everybody knows it's a joke. But like, they're so up the ass of the Democratic faith that they can't just fucking take the joke and run with it. Like, yeah.
What did they
really
think was
amazing.
going to happen?
Well, you know that like there's a whole backstory to the Norm thing going on The View, which is that Norm hates that shit. But at the time, he had a sitcom, and so there's this thing like the networks are like, you know, like talking about Conan. Like you notice how like SNL cast members were always like flung in to random episodes at guests. It's because like if somebody canceled or something went wrong or they needed to shoot an extra thing, they were in the same building. And so they literally just make a phone call and they're like, okay, whose turn is it? You know? And like when you're making a show for like a studio, they have a thing. It's like, hey,
You gotta
know,
like
we might-
cancel
yeah.
dates. Be like,
Well,
fuck,
yeah,
no,
well, it's
I
like-
can't. I gotta be on The View tonight.
It's like
God
it's like in
damn it.
you know, like in professional sports players' contracts. Like their contracts say, like, hey, part of your contract is if we ask you to do media stuff, you have to do at least X amount of media shit that we ask you to do. And so that's things like because Norm was like didn't want to do this shit. So Norm, being the genius that he is,
Just
went
got
on The
kicked
View,
off.
did one of the greatest bits of comedy ever, and the network learned don't ask Norm to do shows. And so he got everything he wanted out of that. He got to make Barbara Walters look like a dumb bitch, and he didn't have to do any more dumb shows that he didn't want to do. It was
I don't know
perfect.
whose
The guy's
idea
a
it was
super
to, like,
genius.
How did they not see it coming? That was what I'm saying.
Yeah, no, that's one of those things like,
They,
oh, let's
they're
put
like, no,
Norm down on
he'll
the-"
behave himself for once.
Yeah.
This will be the time. Yeah, we'd sit him on there with Barbara Walters and Whoopi Goldberg. Then he'll behave himself for sure.
Yeah.
Anyway,
It's
that's
amazing.
that guy gave the roadmap for any Mormon who starts getting questioned about like Tim Ballard or something like that.
What?
Say, you're Tim Ballard. What, Tim Ballard?
No, I
No.
thought he was in Venezuela saving children. No.
Yeah,
about
the
Timothy?
Underground Railroad guy.
Yeah.
No,
Yeah,
they
him
had
and
all
his
this
wife are really close, I hear.
Yeah,
He's
I
running
just
for
saw
Senate.
them. I saw them 4 Christmases ago. They were great.
Well, there's one real easy way to solve this. We can call up Janet Russin. Yeah, that's how that rolls. Troy says up there that
Okay, he's got the links for the.
now that the show's been endorsed by the likes of Jonathan Streeter, I hope it doesn't sell out and go all mainstream or something. Well, when we make this our job,
Yeah.
we will for sure
We will
stay
sell out.
hardcore and not
goddamn
just chase the click.
Oh shit! I thought we were gonna sell out. My bad.
Oh,
Well, I mean, is this the time to announce that we are now life coaches?
and you better
When I
support
was-
the podcast or it'll go away.
When
And
I
we'll
was,
put
yeah, I
that
know.
up every other day.
It's viewers
Yeah.
like you that
If you want content like this to go on.
I was gonna start. I was trying to start this out with a word from our sponsor, Raid Shadow Legends. Have you ever like wanted to just play a totally free MMO with like 600 completely customizable heroes?
Man, I've got too many prayer apps on my phone. Like,
Oh my
every
God.
time
All of
they
them?
advertise a prayer app, I just sign up.
Hello. What the fuck?
Like, if you have like a
You're
Christian
sell-
prayer
you're
app and a
selling
Muslim
prayer?
prayer app, like, do they have like conflicts? Like, if you try to use them at the same time, like your phone breaks down. Did anybody even react to this? I wonder. I
There was 4 or 5, and most of them were longhousers.
think people
you
want
know,
to pretend like
Otherwise,
we
it just got unnoticed by a bunch of Jews underneath your building in New York. It just wasn't. It just wasn't there. But Jonathan's doing the Lord's work, propping us up over there on Mormon Stories. John DeLynn liked it. No, just kidding. John DeLynn liked one of his other posts finally, and he said,
Yeah.
"Whoa."
The one where like the no wrong way to Mormon. That was a great little thing. Yeah.
This one hints at that we dunk on Dan McClellan. I mean, like, why are they such Dan McClellan fans? Shouldn't they be enemies of Dan McClellan? He's just coming up with ways for them to reconcile their harmful church that causes harm.
Dan McClellan is the PhD of causing harm.
As far as I can tell, he has at least 16 PhDs, so that might as well be one of them.
Yeah.
That's getting up there, man.
That's another Jonathan thing. The philosopher king Dan McClellan thing, absolutely brilliant.
Yeah, let's pull that up. I think that's going to start floating around and popping up on.
I've replied to a couple of his tweets with it. I don't know if I've been blocked already. I don't even care. I don't look that hard. Because man,
he got it pulled. I wish I
blithely.
The ability to do stuff.
That word's so stupid.
Could you blithely put up that?
I said something on there like, could you just please stop saying the word blithe or I'll gouge my eye out? Because he was going on and on this week that the Bible says nothing about modesty.
Nothing at all.
Well, if it does talk about modesty, it's only about showing off riches. It's not about.
Oh, okay, yeah, that's right.
It's not about
forgetting. Moses was a communist. When am I gonna remember that?
It's wild to me how often the data in the Bible always line up exactly perfectly with modern progressive ideals.
Yeah, no, it's really interesting that like how the path of history, it here at the nexus of time, the Democratic Party in 2024 has finally fulfilled biblical prophecy. It's really amazing. Like, here we are, guys. It's the last days, and the answer is vote blue.
It was always there in front of us all along. All you did is had to read it closely, like Joe Biden did.
You know, so I don't know if
2,000 years of dumb popes had no idea.
So I don't know if this is a true story, but I always remember hearing it, and the message made a lot of sense to me when like my teachers would tell me about how, in 18 whatever, the patent office in America officially closed because they said all the things had been invented, and that was right before the Industrial Revolution, and it's probably not true, but it makes sense. It's like this whole like, well, you haven't figured everything out yet thing. Like, no, you guys still got some figuring out to do. And I thought, oh, good, we figured that out. Like we found out that there's still more things to find out. We found out that we don't have everything. We're not the pinnacle of humanity, and we have to work towards something. But that's not the case. I think everybody thinks we've just figured it all out. I think because like Zelf was talking about it. They were talking about like sexuality in a way, like, oh yeah, we beat that. Like we're done needing sex for procreation, or we're done needing humans. That was one of the like we actually don't. Nobody needs to reproduce anymore. Actually, we don't need it anymore. We figured it out. Oh, did we? Okay.
Yeah, that's some of their episode that maybe I'll pull up in a little bit. And I think they said almost something completely contradictory to that in several other places about going along with your natural evolution and this sorts of stuff and that sorts of stuff, but then not thinking that your procreation is a major part of that. Hey, I've got to go move my car. Can you guys hold it down for 3 minutes?
Moving
Wait,
his
you
car.
getting plowed or something?
Yeah, my car's in the way of something.
Did the car kill him?
I don't want this plane all the way over in front of it. I'm gonna hold on here. Read some of that McClellan stuff. I'll be right back.
Damn McClellan. Let's just be completely silent. That'd be the funniest. Sorry, we can't talk.
Death of the author. All texts are negotiated. Dan-splaining. That's
Dan-splaining. That was great.
Linguistics. Rhetorical prophylaxis. Don't negotiate my text. Original intent of the author.
That poor guy really wants the rhetorical prophylaxis to stick.
Yeah. Other things I've been annoyed with is fucking Jacob Hansen's thoughtful faith videos that he's been putting out lately about like intellectual sins. It's just like, God damn it, Jacob, you have no fucking self-awareness, do you? Because he's got this whole thing his whole thing is like, watch out for people who make arbitrary claims. Like, oh, should I, Jacob? Is that something I should watch out for? Is that somebody that I shouldn't believe? Somebody who makes arbitrary claims.
Well, it's kind of difficult because, like, if there is a God, right? If there's a God and he says that you're not allowed to wear purple on Saturday, then if you don't wear purple on Saturday, then that's not arbitrary. It's like God is saying it.
Yeah.
But that's only if there is a God. So the difficult thing with like the Christian theist types is that they'll say like, I have this objective standard, and you're like, well, it's objective if you're right.
Yeah.
You know, like, but you thinking that you're right doesn't, I don't know.
Well, even like Forrest calls him out over and over again. The other thing that Jacob is like just completely lack of self-awareness is because I mean, and when he talked to me in our debate thing that we did, whatever, on this show last year, whatever, like, and I mean, it's the stupidest, lamest apologetic game where if anybody brings up well-being, he's like, that's subjective. You can't have any kind of objective notion for well-being, blah, blah, blah. And yet he invokes well-being as evidence of the truth of Mormonism all the damn time. And like Forrest pointed it out to him in the comments, like, he just that, you know, and like I've pointed it out to Jacob many times. People keep pointing it out to him, like, Jacob, you use well-being as a standard. All right. So either you are full of shit or you are like deliberately lying. Like, those are the options, because you can't attack me and say, oh, I can't invoke well-being when you are going to invoke well-being. But I mean, that's the thing is,
Well, I
like,
have to imagine the idea behind it is that if God is real and you got the right book,
yeah,
then you've got like a whole user manual for what is and is not well-being. So then that would be objective. You would have an objective definition of well-being, because well-being by and large is going to be defined pretty similarly by most people universally,
Yeah.
but there's going to be a lot of variance in that, like things like gender transitions, right? Like I would definitely say that you are not looking out for the well-being of your child if you give him an orectomy because he thinks he's a girl one afternoon. But other people would say that, I'm looking out for his well-being, because if I don't affirm his gender, then obviously the only alternative is suicide. And so I don't know. It's difficult because if you do have the right rule book, then you have an objective definition of well-being and an objective moral system. It's just it's not really going to happen in arguments with people that they're just going to grant you your entire framework. They're not just going to grant you like, okay, let's say your book is real.
I know, that's just thinking about Jacob, the Bob Price on his Bible Geek podcast, which I think is still going. But he has a segment where he does counter apologetics, and he has little introductions to every segment. And his introduction is, apologetics is never having to say you're sorry. Which is like, it's so funny because it's spot on. It is spot on because it's absolutely right. Because that's the thing about apologeticians. What's the word? Apologeticals. Apologists.
Apology gods.
So that's things like, because it's like, and I bring up about Jacob, and it's about all of the apology gods. Is like, I've never seen one back down from an untenable position. Like, I don't even remember exactly what it was. It was before I didn't get kicked out of the group. I left. But like, Jacob posted something, and the backlash from the other members of the group was almost universal. It was like an almost perfect unison of like, no, Jacob, we think you're on the wrong side of this. And he wouldn't even back down from that. Like, I've never seen him back down from any of his untenable positions, which is like, it doesn't look good for somebody who's pretending to be going out there making rational arguments and stuff. You can't put yourself out there as the thinking guy.
Did you watch his episode this week? He had an episode this week, and I actually think it was pretty good on him pointing out the contradictions in Bill Reel's.
I didn't watch that one.
Bill Reel, I mean, they went over it in their debate, but he's just going back over it. But he points out how Bill Reel's belief in free will and all that stuff kind of makes it nonsensical for him to start getting into levels of judgment of good and bad and change and all those sorts of deals, because it just doesn't make much sense.
Yeah, that's the difficulty once you just grant pure determinism. Is you're like, well, how could you possibly punish anyone for anything? How could you be mad at anyone for anything that they ever do because they didn't choose to do it? They don't have a choice but to be like a murderer why do you get mad at pedophiles? What did
Yeah.
they didn't do it on purpose?
You don't
There
have
is
an
no
objective standard that
On
that's bad.
purpose.
Yeah, so I don't know if this is what you guys were commenting on, but Christopher says their subjective objective thing was fun to watch, and that was a Forrest kind of taking him on about if there's objectivity in taste. And I actually think it was a little bit more complex than Forrest pointed out for it to be. But Reese
It
still
definitely
says
was, because there are, I don't know, whenever we get into the objective versus subjective, you get into things like taste or music.
Yeah.
And I'm like, no, it's kind of both, right? There is things like taste, but there's also things that are objectively musically sound principles, right? There is objectively well-written music, but there's also, like, I don't know, every now, because you can, there's songs where dissonance was the right move to make in the song, but
The opening chord of In Utero, I just listened to that this morning. You know what I'm talking about? That the first chord of the first song of In Utero.
mm-mm.
It's just a clang. Because, like, you know, like there's the
Yeah, like
famous
the
opening
Hard
chord
Day's
of Hard
Night
Day's Night.
chord.
Well, no, but because like the Hard Day's Night is like a jazzy chord. You know, it's just kind of weird to hear that clonk out at the beginning of a rock and roll song. Whereas like the first chord of In Utero is like Hard Day's Night, but dripping in nightmares.
Yeah, but
Really
there's
good.
stuff that we can all agree upon is way more objective about taste, like just taste of like tastes good, food taste. Is
Yeah.
that because Forrest was talking about is apple pie better than vanilla ice cream, and it's obvious it's vanilla. No, I'm just kidding. It's obviously
Is
there's an
apple pie better than
objectivity
shit?
between
That feels
it's
like-
bitter objectively bitter and sugar sweet objectively sweet.
And even if you don't want to say objectively, you could say universal to humans, right? Like it's
There's another,
and they'll bring up they love bringing up some stupid edge case where they're like, what about this guy that likes eating shit? I'm like, do you not realize that this guy has a mental illness?
Yeah.
Not just immediately know that.
He was just born. He was determined to be that way, man. He was determined to put that poo in his mouth.
Norm Macdonald, when Norm Macdonald makes fun of his friend Larry King, yellow is the best color. Because Larry King would just say shit like that.
Yeah. Risto says the history of how cultures define well-being has much variety. That is very true. And Troy says, depending upon your definition of fun, Christopher, Bach is better than Swish, but we have taste. Oh,
like that reminds me. I was like, it's one of my favorite little turns of phrase from Sam Harris. It was like a gajillion years ago. I think he was debating William Lane Craig or something, and like there was this whole thing. Is like, is good better than bad? And I just like the how Sam Harris put it. He's like, we've hit philosophical bedrock with the shovel of a stupid question. Like that's really how I feel like when you get to this point where it's like, yeah, no, I get it. Like there's a fuzzy part where I don't really know, but like in the big picture, yes, good is better than bad. We can settle on that, can't we? But no, not when you're talking to an apologist.
What's good? What's bad? What are you based on? What are your axioms?
Just try to.
And did you get permission from Dan McClellan? Like any moral position you take in this world, you should stare hard at the picture, stare at each of the eyes, and try to come at your conclusion for what your gut tells you after those searing expert eyes expertly sear through your soul.
So you mentioned that the one thing that an apologist is to never apologize, right?
Yeah. Never.
If you ever want to know, where an apologist, where a normal person would say, yeah, that's fucked up, that happened, or that we believe that, or whatever, you just listen to Brian Hale's talk in any of his interviews, and the point where he gets to the point, anytime he says, yeah, that's a head scratcher, that's where most people would be like, yeah, that's pretty fucked up. Like, we don't know why he sent men away on missions and married.
That's actually kind of where Jacob got Bill real. But Jacob got Bill real to that head scratcher moment in his.
Yeah. Oh yeah, he did.
He was talking about if a pedophile has the feelings, he's just determined to feel that way. Well, if he acts on those feelings, he's just determined to act on it too. So he's just as helpless in both the situations.
I guess if you're like a full-on determinist, like nihilist like that, your answer would be, yeah, I can't help but react in this way. I can't help but be mad at him.
But I also mentioned it because the whole last bit of it, he goes, I know my theistic worldview has its problems. It has its contradictions. It has its difficulties, but nothing as bad as Bill Real. But I mean, at least he gave like that whole caveat at the end, you know. But
Yeah, well,
did you
that's the thing.
read it?
He's talking out of both sides of his mouth because this week he put out an apologetic that directly contradicted that. He said anybody who makes that claim, like I think I even commented on his thing where he says like if your worldview contains contradictions, you need like basically it's crap. But you know, I'm paraphrasing. But then like that's the thing, like classic Jacob. There he is saying like, well, no, I admit that my worldview has contradictions. Like, okay, you fucking hack. There you go. Get the fuck out of the apologetics game. You lost. Knock it off. You know, because like the other thing that drives me nuts about the apologetics lines of Jacob or those guys is that I know damn well that you don't talk like that when you're within the Mormon realm, when you're like teaching seminary and teaching Sunday school and at home talking about church to your kids. You don't use any of that language or tools or that any of that stuff. Like none of that is how you approach your knowledge. All of that bullshit is just a game you play when you're doing the apologetic game. And then you abandon it as soon as it's not useful anymore. And I know that from like because it's not just
Jacob
him.
might, but just like Dan here, I don't know what sort of Dan persona he puts on over at church, but did you read the types of Dans that are there already? I was
Yeah, we read all the Dans.
Yay, all the Dans.
You know the other thing. Jonathan, I got another job for you to do for your skills. You know the classic Gary Larson Far Side strip that was the many moods of an Irish setter, or no, the many moods of a golden retriever. You know, and obviously it's just a doofy dog's face, but it's like happy, sad, suicidal, murderous, all this stuff. We do the same thing with Dan. Just like, you know, just get the dog like that. It's like, you know, philosopher, you know, all this stuff, linguist, cognitive scientist.
I think that's what he was actually going for right
expert.
here. He was
Yeah.
going to put it in that he's an expert on 75 different fields of things.
Yeah.
But then it just got more fun to put the funny, goofy things at the bottom. But yeah, man, I came across, probably all come across them back during the Far Side days. There was all sorts of Far Side knockoffs. And it is unreal, like how far a Far Side knockoff falls off.
I know.
Yeah.
Far Side knockoffs are maybe the worst comics in history.
Right, I'm in sometime I joined a Facebook group that's like a Far Side page, and 90% of it is posting Far Side knockoffs that are crap.
Well, they mostly post knockoffs because if you're a true fan of Larson, everybody always brings up this thing that he said way back in 1990 something that he didn't want his stuff online, and so the true fans will always repeat him making that big request or something like that. But because to this day, it's still kind of hard to find like some compendium of Far Side stuff online. This guy exposes Dan McKellion, and he is another Harvard educated, what's he called? Harvard and Yale educated pastor who was also a Mormon once too.
Danielle. I make educational TikTok videos on a wide variety of topics, but in my professional life, I am a pastor. I mostly don't talk about religion on this channel. I talk about more personal topics, and I talk about religion on my work channel. This is mostly about a fellow TikToker. It's religion adjacent. There's a TikToker named Dan McClellan, who I adore. So this is not.
Aren't they all that go to divinity school? Like, isn't that the thing?
I'm not insulting him. I'm just saying I think he's probably
a bashing piece. I think he's fantastic. I am frankly shocked that Dan and I haven't met in real life. We have a similar
go to the same bathhouses.
I'm not Mormon now. I don't know Dan's current religious beliefs, but
I do.
We have many overlapping circles and probably mutual friends, but we have not personally met. So this is just a shout out to his work. Dan McClellan is a Bible scholar who often is in reaction videos to people saying something about the Bible, and then he says, okay, let's see it. I just want to give an outside perspective on Dan McClellan for both those who are religious and shocked at what he says, and for those who are not religious and are shocked at what he says. Dan is an excellent communicator, and he teaches things very succinctly and very well, but never once has he surprised me. And I don't mean this as a critique. I think, and I would like to believe he would take it as a compliment if he were to ever see this. Nothing he has ever said is surprising to people who studied religion and theology at excellent universities.
What have we been saying? What have we been saying?
It's never surprising because it always goes along with Blue Church, but yeah, that's the reason why it goes along with Blue Church.
Yeah, I mean, there's no reason like to list out the whole rest of this because he,
Yeah.
you know, he says evangelical atheists and right-wing conservatives get really mad at him because they're the same in a whole lot of different ways and all that sort of stuff. And of course, he points out conservatives. I commented on this video. I don't think it'll be down beneath it because it was on my cell phone. But I said to him, he says, some of us have these nuanced views of church, just like he says all the time. But he repeats multiple times. Well, I think he says it right here. It's, in fact, everything Dan says is stuff I learned in the first year.
Who studied it seriously, no matter their religious background. The things that Dan says are well explained, mostly intro level, standard academic understandings of the Bible, Hebrew, Greek, history, and interpretation. Nearly everything he's ever said is something that I directly learned within the first year of Yale Divinity School.
But him saying that he goes on to say that like tons of different Christians just hold this stuff and it's the nuance, whatever view or whatever. But what I mentioned to him, what you guys just said, it's a lens too. It's a lens just like the conservative lens is a lens. The academic lens is a lens. And it's basic bitch. He's regurgitating basic bitch cathedral divinity school crap. And it might as well, not might as well, it should be viewed as a denomination itself.
Yeah.
He's like, I don't know Dan McClellan's religious views. How do you not?
Yeah, like
You are it.
yeah.
His religious views are more obvious to me than Jacob Hansen's.
Like, no, you already said like you went to the same seminary as his. Like you guys learned the same religion in your first year of theology, whatever it was, divinity school. Like you just said it.
And that's what we've been saying. We've been saying he's not saying nothing. That's just basic. And everybody goes around calling him brilliant and all sorts of stuff. And he's regurgitating just what he learned in school. Just like I saw a million people. I used to just yell at the top of my lungs, Foucault, before people knew who Foucault was. And you'd always see people just busting out the Foucault stuff. And then somebody, I used to always, that's where my John DeLynn impersonation came from. Because somebody'd start saying Foucauldian crap. And he'd be like, that's so brilliant. That's brilliant. Brilliant. Like, no, it's Foucault. And it's every basic bitch academic ever. Which the Midnight Mormons just did it with Bradley last week. And his reading of the we're gonna throw this out and reread it as a radical new reading. Like, no, this is academic lens. What do you call it? The brainwashing. It's just that lens that gets wormed into everything and put on everybody. And it's like James Lee says, it can be learned in a day, but you can act like you sound super deep forever and ever doing it, because it's just, the critical deconstruction, rereading topsy-turvy, upside down, whoa, and then read it through like an identitarian lens like Foucault, and boom, wow, like it really just takes like a week to grasp it, and that's the end. Wow. Dan McClellan. I wanted to pull up the dumb song that made us cringe so hard.
Oh God!
I didn't pull it up last week.
I didn't.
Where can I get to quickly? You never saw the song?
I don't think so.
That shit was embarrassing.
It was not good. But it wasn't done by Dan. It was done by a guy who called me Desnat on X. On X.
So this week you're Desnat. You're an
No,
incel.
it wasn't this week. It was a while back.
Because you're an incel. Remember that?
I'm an incel. I'm a Cardin.
Yeah.
I'm who else?
You're a Republican.
A Republican. I got called something else. Anyway, it's one of those.
I love how immediately, like after the word incel became known to the general public, I love how quickly we just lost sight of what that word meant. Because now you're calling like guys with 5 kids incels.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, it's funny because like in the background of things, like in the background, there's a whole ongoing saga of the variety of women that are contacting Chris, all from all walks of life, all different kinds, and just of him just batting them off like gnats.
Yes, the other reason why I am free of being called some sort of sex pest is because my answer is no.
Yeah.
I just saved Troy Led at 30K in college tuition. I literally did. I really, really did. I've been doing that all around. Although everybody's on top of that one now. If you saw the stuff that Ackman dude, he's going after hard. He
Is that
announced
the
that he's
billionaire
gonna
guy?
yeah, he's gonna do a
Yeah.
year of putting AI to finding all of the plagiarism.
Yeah, I love how now he's like, oh, now that it, or no, he's not the one I was thinking of.
He did used to kind of be slightly wokish, but
Was he the one that now that it's being turned around on the Jews, he's like, now it's bad.
yeah,
Like,
pretty
well,
much.
I
But
mean,
whatever
glad you found
ignites
it,
him,
buddy.
because now he's
Yeah, whatever
noticing the old
ignites you,
stuff.
but like,
Yeah, he's
I don't know how
noticing
you
the
didn't.
old stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, actually, I heard Donald Trump Jr. on Tim Pool say that he actually kind of turned around at the Rittenhouse case. That he started watching the Rittenhouse case and said, "Hey, this is entirely different than what the media reported to me."
Yeah,
And then
I don't know how the Rittenhouse one didn't turn more people around. That was wild.
yeah, you
I
ready?
have never seen such a clear-cut case of self-defense, well documented.
Yeah.
That's apologetics right there, is pretending that Rittenhouse wasn't justified.
Yeah.
Sorry, go on.
You know, a lot of people have faith in a historical Book of Mormon. You should not expect the data to support what you have faith
Oh,
in,
this
and
one.
they
I
don't.
remember this one.
McClellan is a scholar and he's fetching dope. Holds degrees from Oxford.
Fetching
It's a
That's
Mormon
like-
joke.
is that like so, like it's so cringe? It's supposed to be cringe. Like
Yeah, I think they're just making a Mormon joke,
Yeah, I
I guess,
think
but they
a
don't
Mormon
stick
joke.
with the Mormon theme.
Tells Desnats to come. Dan has his own catchphrase. All right, let's see.
All right, let's see it.
Wears comic book t-shirt. His TikToks are the shit. Follow the data. Follow the data. Follow the data. Dan loves to say. Follow the data. Follow the data. Follow the data. Dogma is late.
Those are like, because we've been saying this whole time that Dan is exactly as religious in his blue church as any Mormon could hope to be religious in Mormon church. And this guy like just comes along and seals it for us. Like, okay, there you did. You just did it. There you go. We got it.
church.
This is your church. You have
That-
faith in Dan.
You want to know why that guy called me Desnat?
I
He said something
believe
about
in Dan.
he said something
Just
about the Mormon
go
church should
for-
donate more money to poor, and I said they do. And then he comes at me like being a dick bag, and he looked at the people I follow, and he says, "It looks like you follow a bunch of Desnat." And then he says, "You kind of have the look like." And I said, "What? Because I have a jawline? I'm Desnat." Like, what the hell is wrong with you?
I've only got one chin.
Yeah. And that's literally what it was. And he just went
But-
back and forth with me on that for a while.
And I guarantee this is a guy that probably
joke.
talks about and believes in like systemic racism of American police, and probably talks about what a wicked thing it is to profile somebody based on their appearance and all this shit. But no, definitely. No, it has every time I post on something on NPR to make fun of the NPR article. Like somebody always comes at me, and then it's amazing. Like they always creep on my profile. It's just funny because I always laugh. I'm like,
Always.
why are you creeping on my profile? It's like, you're so obviously conservative. I'm like, okay, but like, it's not. like you're lying if you're looking at my profile and getting anything like a Republican message from it. You
I
know?
had somebody creep on my profile one time. It was the funniest shit ever because I was in a group. I did not belong in the group. It's like some stupid non-binary bullshit, like transgender group or whatever. And they were talking about abortion and how like I can't believe people like they told me I can't have an opinion on it because I don't have a uterus, and I said I do have a uterus or whatever. I don't remember exactly what it was, but somebody like I'm in a picture with a with a beard with my wife and son is my profile picture.
Yeah.
And they're like, one person finally pointed out in this argument with me, like, what are you doing here? You're clearly not trans. And it was the only sane person there. And all I had to do was say, I really thought that I could come to this place and feel safe. I thought that the validity of my identity wouldn't be questioned here. And this one sane person, like, I got her kicked out of the group because like the admin comes on there and they start creeping through my profile and they're like, well, she has her pronouns on Facebook, and if you go back a little ways, she has an ask me about my pronouns pin for a profile picture. So I think she's just a male presenting trans woman or some shit like that. I was like, you fucking idiot. You kicked out one of your own for me. Like,
yeah,
I was.
I mean, I hope that person like reflects on it and goes, hang on a second. Like, what just happened there?
That person's like, I know this guy's wrong. And all the people, by the way, around that were watching, they had to have done the same thing. They were like, we know this guy's full of shit. He's got a beard and a wife and a kid right there.
No, I mean, like,
but we can't say it because our religion won't let us.
The Colorado gay club shooting put the lie to that whole thing once and for all. Because, like, as soon as it came out that the shooter was non-binary, the entire trans community came out and said, he's not really trans.
Yeah.
I know.
And the reason they gave is because trans people wouldn't do anything bad.
No true trans men.
Do you want to know what statistic that created that nobody ever talked about either? That in 2023, way more trans people killed Christians in the name of their ideology than Christians killed trans people in the name of their ideology. Because all the trans deaths, even though they try to pass it off of that, are never some Christian person marching out and killing a trans. Never once. But this just in. The celestial kingdom is super gay.
There is.
I don't. This is out of Ladder Lapters. I cut the guy's name off, but
yeah, I didn't understand this.
He says
I
a lot of
I
people.
understand what he's going for, but I don't know really why he's. Anyway, go on.
My comment,
go ahead.
like, because I try to like take the conversation seriously from within the framework. Like I commented about like a lot of these types of things. It's not an old comment I have, but like these questions about like how does the celestial kingdom work and all this stuff. To me, it's like saying, Klingons can't fire disruptors while cloaked because it'll overload the warp core. Like, it's a fun conversation if you're a fan, but for everybody else, it's just fucking gibberish.
That's why Dan Ellsworth is the hero we need, because anytime he gets into one of these, he just calls it derp.
Derp.
Spirits are uncreated eternal beings. So I guess two spirits can create each other. I said this kind of starts sounding a lot like the Mormon queer theology, which basically says the beings are just beings, man, and whatever those celestial beings are, it could ultimately be viewed as, well, we're just two celestial beings. Who cares? Like, what's gender even in the middle of all that? Which is basically what those guys all argue for.
What even is that, man?
That's why I say don't become a celestial being so that you can stay unqueer, man, because you get to stay. Well, I guess you get the TK smoothie, but
The thing is, like, I mean, am I crazy? But I thought that the standard prevailing Mormon doctrine is that we are literal spirit children of our Heavenly Father. And he says, no, we're not. That we are uncreated, which is, okay.
Yeah. I don't know. That's what I'm saying. If you go deep enough into what I was talking about on there is, I was like, a lot of Mormonism seems very hell-bent on explaining all things God materially. Especially if you get into the deep doctrine guys that are into that. Like, if you get into Skousen, he tries to explain the literal atonement of Jesus Christ in a material way. And he also tries.
Sorry, go ahead. Well, I was making a joke, but I interrupted you. But riffing on my things, like, because, like, when we ask these questions about, like, well, wait, are spirits uncreated or did God create them? And just to continue my analogy, it's like saying, like, well, the Klingons could fire disruptors if they realign their phase inverters and calibrate the plasma injectors. You just need to modify the containment field to keep up with the wave flux of the tachyon field. It's not complicated.
No, I figure anytime I'm in a Mormon group, I just grant the premise that Mormonism is
Yeah.
true, and so I can debate them with their doctrine. But I'm like, I guess if you want to explain everything materially, right, then obviously that's probably where the God makers got the idea of celestial sex. You know,
Yeah.
you have to bang to make spirit babies, and if you're two dudes, you won't be able to bang and make.
I think that
spirit
follows.
babies.
I think that might have to be true as well. I mean, nobody ever said otherwise, did they?
Yeah.
I mean, I'm sure Hinckley said something like, "I don't know that we teach that."
I don't know that
Yeah.
we teach that, Mike Wallace.
Yeah.
Wait, you're the guy. What do you mean you don't know?
But I mean, I agree with Dan Ellsworth entirely that if people are sitting around thinking about that stuff, they're probably doing their faith wrong. It might even be like a Jordan Petersonian thing that, like, man, just live the lifestyle and stop getting caught up in the truth claims. I've actually heard some of the dissident right people say that whenever we start bringing about our religious political structure, stop focusing on the truth and just focus on the form. The form, not the truth. The form, not the truth. And they just outright say that. But I think there's some truth to that. Like, live the lifestyle or something like that, and don't get caught up in all the weeds, that other stuff, because all it is doing is navel gazing in a different way, I guess, sort of. But they, I don't know. None of this stuff, if you think about it too hard, like to say the other side of that, like, you cannot think too much on any issue and not get to a point where somebody has to shut it down. Just the same way Bill Rill said, yeah, I don't know. You get to all sorts of contradictions everywhere, and it's just, yeah, I don't know. And I mean, I guess we're all just stuck with that. But yeah. You want to see a hoe math?
Oh yeah, I love
Yay,
math.
oh Matt.
I keep forgetting to look this guy up after.
Yeah,
this.
me too. I just wonder if YouTube is fucking with his.
Uh-huh. Pulled a fast one on you. Might as well be.
You son of a bitch!
Is it an actual hoe?
Profiles. Grown men in their 30s and older, when given the chance to describe themselves and what they're looking for in a dating app text box, will literally, without pausing for breath nor thought collection, be like, I'm a pretty alright guy just looking for a nice girl he can spoil, no fatties. I have a car and a job, and I am no longer interested in catfishes. If you are a catfish, keep on swiping. I'm now only interested in human women, not the kind of girls who pretend they care about you in your metal wire jewelry and lie to you about liking James Bay, who they knew was really special to you because you went to his concert with your mum and she held your hand for the first time in your adult life during Let It Go. 10-inch cock, and if you're vaccinated, you can fuck right off. Because if my mum never loved me, then why did she not bother vaccinating me as a kid? I'm not afraid to think outside the box, and I don't play games. If you take ages to reply to texts, you can fuck right off. Mum, if you see this, call me back.
This is a
your little
joke.
boy, I promise. Drama free. Can you imagine if Carl Jung was around to see this shit? It is so good. We'll never be a witness to a stream of consciousness more pure, more undefiled than men's dating profiles.
Okay, wait a minute. Hang on. Look,
It wasn't a fast one. It is sort of a hoe math.
so
I don't.
has
do
she
the
ever
hoe
seen?
math.
Has
You
she
guys
ever
are
seen women's
commissioned to do the hoe math.
dating
Go.
profiles? Like, because
It's a joke, yeah.
I mean, the whole joke that she's making is, I don't know. I've seen this joke constructed before where, like, you start out, it's kind of a John Oliver type thing where you start out sounding kind of normal, you add something kind of catty in there, like no fatties, and then you get like so ridiculously specific that it could only be one person. She's basically telling a poorly delivered John Oliver joke and going on too long.
Yeah. But why you don't think she was talking about a real profile and she didn't get that it was a joke? The guy was joking.
Maybe, I don't know.
If it was a real profile, the guy was joking.
Well, for sure, but
Well, yeah, but things like she's got the reverse Poe problem in that she is a sexist and a misandrist, you know, so she can't tell the difference between a joke and a real piece of shit because she only thinks men can be shit.
Yeah.
except the queer ones, of course.
They're the good ones.
I've got a real.
He just
hoe
needs a
math.
queer that wants to have sex with blonde British girls. Then she'll be okay.
Oddly enough, those exist.
Oh.
I've got a real hoe math. You guys earned it, but that just seems like something that would start out a hoe math if I mean, I'd like to hear what he would say on that one. Here's
I
a
would
real
love
homath.
for the homath guy to date Sam Shelley for like a month.
You earned a real homath.
Long shorts. Ick structure. It's pretty popular to have the ick. All the girls are sharing their icks. I thought I would simplify the ick for everybody.
Segment is going to be about our ex.
Our
guys. Okay.
I'm going to put an end to the ick problem. All icks come from the same thing, and that thing is lack of masculinity. I recently made a video about masculinity and femininity that was quickly demonetized. I explained that deep in the psyche, men tend to be more masculine and women tend to be more feminine, and that is also what we expect from each other. So what is masculinity? Well, masculinity is doing stuff, and femininity is having stuff done unto you. Is to exert, and to be feminine is to receive. That is why we like men with muscle. Muscle is for doing stuff, and they wear pants to help them do stuff. And that's why women don't need those things. They get to look pretty and do less stuff. That is why every ick is either being affected by the world, especially if it's in a negative way, or being unable to affect the world in a positive way, especially one that benefits her. The icks they list include being cold, that is, being affected by the environment, going on a coffee date, that is, small amounts of investment, going to a restaurant and not approaching the hostess stand. They then list several clothing errors, which is not enough, being in control of your appearance. This is probably an ick. So just like a coffee date is not enough of creating a quality date, waiting for the hostess to call you is not enough of getting her a seat at the restaurant. And then finally, asking, do you want another drink or dessert? Which suggests that she might not, which is bad for the same reason as the coffee date. It means
Christ.
I don't have enough. I can't do enough. So if you use this formula, you can predict every ick that will ever happen. And remember, none of these things have to be fair. They're not rational. So some examples might include being hit on the head by an acorn, or not being able to pick up a beer keg, or being blown around by a strong gust of wind. In extreme cases of ick sensitivity, you might even get things like, I can't believe you didn't gun it through that yellow light, or I just can't see a man put on a raincoat. So to avoid the ick, remember, I always can do, yes, I can do that, more of it, bigger, and nothing ever affects me. I am naked outside in Antarctica. There you go. I have solved the ick. Now stop talking about it.
I bet there's entire video essays on how everything that he just complained about is the fault of toxic masculinity, internalized misogyny.
Well, we already know we get down there.
Chris was there when my cousin, because I asked her, we were talking about feminism. It was funny because I think it's really weird for her because most feminists are used to being in the majority in most rooms.
Oh yeah,
but it was her, it was funny because our friend, there's only one other woman there who is, a self-made professional woman. And my cousin's like, well, you know what I'm talking about. She's like, no, actually, I think if anything, being a female has been an advantage to me in the corporate world, all this crap. Right. But yeah, it was hilarious. But, when I asked her, it's because we got onto the whole thing about, I can't remember, 50 Shades of Grey and women's rape fantasies. I said, where's that coming from? And she said, the patriarchy. First off, explain how that worked. You were 5 years old, and then you were in school, and they're like, by the way, you want to fantasize about fucking 50 Shades of Grey shit. That's just so you know, little girl, you play with dolls, and you want a powerful man to take advantage of you and choke you and slap you and call you names.
Patriarchy is all powerful. That's what I've learned.
Yeah.
No, this kind of highlights something that I didn't even think of before, that Mormonism gets totally right. The ick thing, right? They're talking about cheap dates, don't go out for coffee and stuff like that. I'm like, holy fuck, Mormon dating culture really primed us to have fun on cheap dates.
Yeah.
our leaders would give us like ideas for cheap dates. Be like, well, why don't
Mini
you
golf.
go to the DI and you each pick out $10 worth of stuff that the other one has to wear while you guys go out in public, and it'll be funny and dorky. And I did that stuff. My first date.
Let's
first
make
date
things out of egg cartons.
My first date with my wife, we went to Walmart and jokingly registered for a wedding, and then went to McDonald's and played guitar. Like that was our date, and we used her McDonald's gift card that she had, and that worked out just fine.
You know,
Yeah,
I
I guess maybe I've given off the ick lately because I've only done the cheap dates if I ever do them.
I know,
I
but
I'm an
remember when I was
incel.
in high
That's what
school,
incels do.
there was a girl that was like 18. I guess she was a little older. She was a super senior. She was 18, and she told us about a date that one of the local hockey players took her on, where and she was like, she came the next day, and she's like, oh, it was the most amazing thing because he picked her up, and then they drove to the airport, and they flew to San Francisco, and he took her to the opera, and they flew back all in one night, all this shit,
Jesus.
And like a few weeks later, I'm like, so how's that going? She's like, I'm not into it. Like, all right. There you go. Fucker should have taken her out to mini golf and to make shit with Ed Cartons. He would have saved $18,000.
Troy called out your apologetics, Flip.
I know, I saw that.
No,
well,
that
I mean,
was for the wrong one.
well, no, look, that doesn't invalidate my thing. It's just because everybody knows that Romulans have a different propulsion system than Klingons and Federation.
Steve Lyson says he thinks that they would say the spirits intelligence always existed. The gods organized our spirits.
Yeah, that's like the deep doctrine stuff.
But I mean, I don't know. That's
the two gays can do organizing together, right? The two celestial gays.
Even better.
But couldn't they reorganize their own spirit?
Are there any like deadbeat celestial parents that just don't want to pay celestial child support, and so a nice gay celestial couple can?
There's a planet out there that has just been waiting 80,000 years for Jesus to die. When will our Savior come?
That'd be a pretty good podcast name, like Deadbeat Celestials.
There's somewhere God is in celestial Wendover putting another dollar in a slot machine.
Risa says if your view doesn't have some contradictions, it's probably too simplistic. Yeah, I mean, I think everybody runs into contradictions. It's just when you do run into one, it's time to start addressing it. I guess. But,
yeah.
Or you could just pull a Vosh and say, I am under no obligation to be consistent.
So, Homath said there's for sure deep in the recesses of the brain, a male masculine and a female feminine. But when I watch this, I don't know so much. Like, disputed. This is your answer, right?
Spot the feminine person.
There's a bunch of stuff.
How many Tanners do you think you could kick it? How many Tanners do you think you could beat in a fight? Just like
who is more interested in dick right now in that
15 Tanners.
Right now. If we could do like the thing where they when they want to find out who the next Dalai Lama is, and they just put out some objects, and if the child picks them, it's like we could put out objects for them. It's like a donut, a box set of Friends, a dick. Okay, which one? What's the one that speaks to you?
You really are born gay.
If I was fighting 20 Tanners, would they be allowed to like all laugh simultaneously? That could do me in pretty quick. I got pretty bad ears as it is. But this whole podcast, I mean, a lot of the different stuff we've been talking about is I've mentioned the channel Everybody Shook before, where they just go into detail about all the different areas where people are pushing to depopulize the world, and not just from their machinations, but also just psychologically. And these are two people who have been incepted all the things. Every single one of the things has been incepted into their brains to make them stop their genetics where they're at. Not because they couldn't have procreated. I'm sure both of them could have. They weren't incels. Look how nice I am. I don't call other people incels. Their vol sales, not that it's that they're asexual, it's just talking about themselves through this whole episode. It's so obvious that the only concern is their own fun and num-nums in the world. Like, plays and num-nums and parties and drugs and feel good about me. And oh, you've done such good inner work of taking care of your fun and your num-nums. You make sure you get your num-nums every day. You make sure you have fun. You make sure you feel good about it. You're so great. I wish
I ate
every
an
man would
entire
be like
box
that.
of cookies. It's my inner work.
Yeah. And
You listen to your body.
He's into the transhumanist future, and I would say going and getting a vasectomy, he's entered into it, because Mary Harrington always points out that as soon as you break something that's working for your own good, you're in a different realm than we've ever been in before. But this is their first wild claim. Jared's wife pointed this one out first, but I'm gonna go with it.
Yeah, because it was so
Oh, maybe I'll go slower with them. Hold on.
Let's never use Jared's wife's name. Let's only ever call
Jared's
her
wife.
You could call her-
Patriarchy.
I think she prefers to be called Sister Higdon, actually.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
Sister
Oh, okay.
Higdon.
Let me
Sister
tell you, that
Higdon.
was my favorite apostle was Richard G. Scott, because he would always talk about his wife using her name. And she'd been dead for like 16 years. He'd tell these like beautiful love stories about Janine. And then you get it, the next guy up there is Bednar, and he's like, Sister Bednar and I were sleeping in separate twin beds on the other sides of the room and putting on our nightcap. I don't know. Like, you're a robot. Don't call her Sister Bednar, you dork.
Yeah, that's weird. That's a little weird. I do remember liking Richard Scott. He seemed to be a little bit more of a cuddly apostle. He and David
talked
B.
about
Hayes,
his wife
they were the cuddly
so much.
apostles.
And I will still listen to a Richard G. Scott talk if he's talking about his wife.
You know what? I remember it. So when we were missionaries, I don't remember how it came up, but somebody said, like, the next time I'm face to face with an apostle, instead of shaking their hands, I'm going to try to get a hug. And I did it. I hugged Richard Scott, and it was awkward. It was awkward.
Really?
Yeah, it was when I was a missionary. He came to our mission.
Oh man.
Okay. Let's listen to this nuttiness. This is the world of science, giving us science numbers, hard quantifiable science numbers.
Stressed out by it.
Yeah, I actually was interested before we started filming to know, because it seems generally people don't regret having kids, because obviously once you have a child, you're going to love that child so much. Not that necessarily means you are cut out to actually like love that child as a verb, because I do think that's a different thing. But we are like all wired to feel great fondness for our young. So I looked it up, and apparently somewhere between like 5 and 15% of people say they regret having kids. So it's pretty low, but also high for what it is.
That's more than regret having a gender transition surgery.
Damn. Do you know what that's?
It's like 1%.
Is it?
Yeah.
Damn.
More people regret corrective surgery, like a corrective back surgery. More people regret
because it doesn't work.
And-
If somebody
and that's
regrets
not
a
true.
corrective surgery,
Well, the 1% thing's not true.
Yeah, that's
no,
absolutely
it's
not
not.
true. That they pull that number from like a test from a group, like a small group of people who had been operated on, and it was just like within 1 year of their operation. But we brought up the concept before. So Samantha says it when it comes to the children, like once you've had it, you're not gonna say. That's also true for the transing. Once you've had it, you're not gonna say. It's called a therapeutic cascade. Like once you get into the thing, it takes you going way down that road and becoming way, way unhappy and being way, way frustrated with something before you'll finally admit you did a dum-dum.
I've tried to get Morgan to admit she regrets she got her ear pierced like up here in the cartilage, and it's just been a pain in the ass. Like it keeps getting infected. It's always hurting, and she hates it. But I'm like, just take the earring out and cut your loss. She's like, no, I like my piercing.
She's got sunk cost fallacy on the
She
piercing.
does. Oh, I just pierced the other side. Maybe it'll work better. I don't know.
Yeah, there's nothing under the sun that's going to make me believe that there's higher satisfaction with transing yourself than with having children.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, and if you So there is a sunk cost to all of this, right? Because like there's not much sunk cost in getting a knee like a knee replacement and regretting it, because then all you're doing is saying, God damn, it hurts more now than it did. That my only problem was pain, and now I have more of it. I regret doing that. I wish my knee didn't hurt, right? With transing yourself, there's there's no going back.
Yeah.
Like, man, I wish my dick wasn't inverted. Like, that's a big deal.
Oh, the female to male, the voice thing.
Oh, the
That's the thing. Like,
trachea thing?
No, not even the trach thing.
Oh.
Just taking the testosterone changes your voice, and that's the thing. Is like, and it takes like a few weeks or months of that, and then your voice box changes forever. And like that's the thing. When you watch some of the people who talk about detransition, like the number one thing the male to females thing, like they all talk about this. Like my voice, like for the rest of my life, I'm going to sound like a 14-year-old kid, a boy, like, and like that, I forget what it's called. The Exolancic has a name for it, but like it's unmistakable when you hear that. When you hear the masculinized woman's voice, like it's unmistakable. You're like, oh, okay, I know what's going on there.
I always describe it as it sounds like a man about 75% coming down from helium.
Yeah.
He's
No, exactly,
almost done with his helium high, but it's still kind of there.
And it's uncanny and it's distracting.
And they'll oftentimes go bald. Like, this sucks.
Yeah.
It's as Helen Joyce points out, it's not just your genitals that are the other sex. Your tendons are the other sex. Your trachea is the other sex. The size of your skull is the other sex. You'd have to replace everything, not just something.
They're trying to. I mean, they do tracheal shaves. That's insane to me.
Yeah, that is so long.
And they do cranium shaves too, because but one of the sure signs you've got a therapeutic cascade is reporting such high satisfaction. Like that is one of the things that typically would set off a review of something. You're saying, no, that's wrong. Nothing is like this in the world. That is way too big. We've got a problem here.
Well, and I mentioned last week that lady in the UK that said she was trans blind and found a licensed therapist who helped her pour drain cleaner in her eyes. As far as I know, she still doesn't regret going blind. That doesn't mean it was the right move to make her blind.
Yeah.
Of course, they talk many times about the patriarchy, and men just hate women unless they have a baby, which is
I always love that. It's
hard
always,
science too.
Oh, they just think that
I love finding stuff. I love finding things out about myself this whole time. I was totally indifferent to whether or not a woman had a baby. But now, Sam, yeah, that's right. I hate women who don't have babies. That's right, Sam.
I know. Well, men just think women should be baby machines. Like, what are you talking about? Like, look, I would like to have like 2 more kids. I'd like to have 4, I think. In fact, if health and money weren't an issue, I'd just keep going. But like to say that I view my wife as just a baby machine is absurd. Like I have a whole relationship with her. I come home and we talk about our day and she tells me how she's feeling and we like no, this is a partner and I'm not an anomaly in this. Like I'm not this rare person that oh, Jared's that one guy that sees his wife as a partner. No, that's just marriage.
I'll share this one instead because they clipped it. They thought it was a good clip. Hold on.
Their own show, they clip their own thing.
And I know people say like kids teach you patience, but I'm like, I'd rather learn patience in an easier, different way. And I'm even happy to develop less patience.
Let's say I'm not in a hurry to learn patience. And isn't that the most patient lesson of all?
And in some ways.
Wow, how very mature and adult of you guys. Things that are hard should be avoided. That's right.
Well, I don't want to do hard.
Good job, Sam.
It's all about themselves and their num-nums. And then they talked also about what we've talked about too, is the dodo bird thing. As soon as women don't have babies at home, they suddenly turn the world into their egg and try to go out into the world and mother and care in the whole entire world.
It is funny how they talk about how not everybody has that motherly instinct, right? Some of us don't want to have kids. Anyway, I have a motherly instinct
Yeah.
I just, I have other
Like-
ways
like,
of satisfying that.
I think it's entirely predictable, or I mean, explainable using evil patriarchal ideas about how women and men have different psychologies. That explains, like, because like the choice of dogs, right? Single, middle-aged women like those little inbred, bulging eyes, retarded, yippy dogs. And I really think it's because they need constant care and attention. They're little, you know what I'm talking about? Like, because like men like, intelligent working dogs, but women like those little retarded, yippy things that basically need to be carried around and babied.
Purse
And
dogs. Well, I know
it's
because my Jack
obviously-
Russells. Flip knew my Jack Russells. My Jack
Oh, yeah,
Russells
I
were
love them.
assholes. And Jack Russells are some of the most returned dogs on planet Earth because they look like they should be cutesy little lap dogs.
Yeah.
But they're actually Tasmanian devils. And so all these women get them as purse puppies. And isn't purse puppy slang for something else?
Maybe. Did you ever
but-
take video of when you would buy a stuffed animal toy and bring it home? 'Cause
Oh, they
you
were
showed me
great.
that once, and like that was one of the most amazing things I ever saw in my life.
The thing is, too, is like I got to watch them do that to real animals on several occasions as well.
I remember when I lived there. Like one day I went in the backyard and I saw like there was a pigeon in the backyard, and it looked like a pigeon had swallowed a grenade. But no, it just met two adorable little puppy dogs.
Yeah, when they play tug of war, they do that with animals.
Yeah.
You're sitting there like that, the tug thing on them, and it's
Yeah,
murderous.
and it's a cat. It's the neighbor's cat.
Anyway, there's always substitute. It's more substitution theory going on here. They go and they have to nurse the whole entire world because they didn't do that stuff. But everything about this podcast is about, hey, think about your num-nums and you and your own self, whatever, your own self-care, your own inner work, your own happiness, your own nummy.
There's
And,
nothing
too
There's
hard.
no phrase more meaningless in the English language than "I'm working on myself."
Yeah.
Watch any reality show where they do like a follow up with the person later.
No, the other thing's like
it's always like, I've been working on myself.
And what they mean by I've been working on myself is, well, I took 3 days off of work and I'm at home and I'm binge watching Netflix and eating whatever I want. I'm working
I've
on
been
myself.
I've been spiraling and trying to feel good about it. That's
Oh,
what
well,
working on
you're rewatching Parks and Rec right now, right?
I am.
One of the most misinterpreted messages in any show ever was the Tom and Donna treat yourself episodes.
Oh yeah,
because
I haven't gotten to those yet, but
everybody just took that as like, yeah, treat you. They took it as we need to act like Tom and Donna. No, the moral of that story is that they're fucking idiots.
Yeah.
Like Tom is always spending too much money. He's a goddamn moron. He's self-centered, and he makes just perpetual stupid decisions, and he doesn't have the money to treat himself. So then people will start being like, yeah, I'm gonna treat myself, which what that means is I'm just gonna call in and play video games in my pajamas all day.
Yeah.
Dang it, man. I was gonna try to pull up the Lynn talking about masturbation, but there's no transcript on it yet, and I haven't listened to it.
Troy gave us timestamps earlier in the chat.
Do you have them? Pull them. I'll pull them up. Here. Send them to me. Anyway, it's all just navel gazing. We had that thing like a little while ago where Peterson something very prescient that he thinks there's really actually kind of not much difference between depression and thinking about yourself. And I think I came to that conclusion. I realized that years ago that if you just sit and think about yourself for too long at any given moment, you'll find pains, you'll find itches, you'll find scratches, you'll find no matter what it is. If I just sit here and think right now, my butt probably hurts too much sitting on the thing I'm sitting on.
I remember it was 10 years ago when I lived in another place downtown. I remember it because it was when right during the election when Romney was running against Obama. And I remember you said something about like we were talking about this very thing. You said right now hurts, like just right now hurts. Like to be alive is to feel pain. And I don't mean that in like the dumb, dopey, like, you know, the French sad thing, but like, no, like if you close your eyes and think about your body, something hurts.
So,
But if
I
you
was
sit there
actually-
thinking about it mentally too, you can mentally it hurts. Like
Oh, yeah.
mentally,
Yeah.
everything's rough. You know.
So
For
I
everyone.
was playing the one of the first games I got when I got a PS5 was
Not for
the-
men.
It was the new Ratchet and Clank game. And I got it because it looked pretty, and it's kind of like I was like, you know what? There hasn't been like a good like platformer in a long time, so I would like to call
Let me
back
guess.
to that.
Did they announce that they're NBs and they're in a relationship where they don't have children?
So they didn't.
Oh, nice.
But they did and it is a fun game and it's a pretty game. I really like it, but God, it's like imagine you're playing Banjo-Kazooie, but like
never played it.
Banjo stops every 20 minutes to just talk about how he feels inadequate and like he's not up for the task, and Kazooie is constantly telling other people how she feels like she isn't a good enough friend to him and maybe she's not worthy of his love. And everyone in the Ratchet and Clank game has fucking anxiety. And like they're overcoming their insecurities. It's like, no, just stop. Oh my God. And everybody talks like a Redditor, like a fucking 21st century Redditor. Like, this is awkward. Like, even like you dig into these archives and you find these voice recordings from the ancients, and the ancients don't sound like ancients. They just sound like a Redditor. They're like, so making this high-tech thing should be a piece of cake, right? I just need to never sleep and develop 4 arms. This is gonna be tough. And you're like, shut up. Like, shut up. Just be oh my God. Be a
You guys
gamer.
see that the thing I sent, like, because apparently Jodie Foster talking about how she doesn't like working with young people, and she
I didn't watch
basically
it, but I heard about it.
Yeah, like she wants you like in the article, she talks about like, you know, these kids, like they're just totally unprofessional when they say like, you know, I just don't feel it today. I'm not going to be in until tomorrow at 10:30, you know, and like, you know, like that thing is like, because like idiot, like there's an entire fucking crew here, and we have to pay them for the entire day, and you just blew like $180,000 of our budget because you don't feel it, you know.
You know, that's absurd.
Yeah. Anyway, that's one of the reasons, like for men especially, maybe for women, sitting and processing your emotions are a good thing, but for men, it's going out and doing, like, just like Flip said with the dog, like find a dog who's going to march you around and get that sort of stuff. But for women as well, one of the things that we know is like maybe stop focusing on yourself and start focusing on something else. Much of them turn it to like activism. But maybe that all should have been focusing on bringing kids in the world, which would have done more for the world than any sort of activism ever.
Yeah, kids are the primary cause of climate change.
But this is for your mental well-being, your health. We're not talking about anything like you should be doing this. It would have been better for you. You would have felt deeper love, deeper responsibility, deeper, less anxiety, probably, except you would transfer that anxiety to the kid, maybe. Who knows? But I'm gonna go to
the more actual problems you have to solve, the less anxiety you feel. Like I've realized that I never feel anxiety if the car breaks down. I just go straight into problem solving mode, and I almost enjoy it. I feel purpose.
Yeah,
I'm gonna go to where Risto said he recommended an Elliot Page clip. Let's see what he says.
Oh Lord.
Trans men can add to the conversation of masculinity, or add to their thoughts and belief system around masculinity. I'd love to hear your perspectives on that.
I think we can add something.
I believe it too.
And the book Amateur I mentioned by Thomas Page McGee.
There's that voice. That's the voice.
Yeah. Conversation of masculinity, what it means to be a man, the man he wants to be, what have you. Beautiful book. I think you'd love it. I mean, I've had a lived experience of being perceived as not a man, of course.
It reminds me of like
how'd that happen?
In Kids in the Hall, when what's his name would play Cancer Boy. I'm Cancer Boy. I'm Cancer Boy.
Every day is a gift.
The cancer boy.
No, you love how, but she doesn't actually say anything. Like that was, I remember when this clip went around, people were making fun of it because like, he's like, "What can trans men add to masculinity?" And she's like, "Stuff for sure."
Me,
Definitely
that's what they can add.
stuff.
They can add a girl
And
with no boobs and a weird voice.
Also,
That's
the
what
sort
they
of
can add.
brief experience. Of,
Finally,
like, entering
masculinity is complete.
that
Thanks,
space and
Elliot.
then getting sort of treated in a different way, or in many ways,
That's so masculine.
I feel so much for cis men being brought up and the limits put on them emotionally, encouraged to be, not sensitive, that vulnerability is weakness on some level or what have you, just ingrained misogyny. Obviously, we live in a very misogynistic society, queer
Obviously.
phobic society, transphobic society, and having certain experiences I've had in my life with men has definitely highlighted.
Do you get a lot of masturbation in lately, though? How's your masturbation thing?
So what's going on down there? You still have the clam, or you
Now that you're liberated and free, are you free to literally masturbate yourself?
So, did they put the bean on the end of the dong, or is it where it started?
Certain things that I personally wouldn't want to be, and I suppose trans men, trans mask people can come to the table with
nothing,
with those experiences. And
Very good. I noticed the very, very start of this, the highlight was, listen, all the way back at the beginning, if I can click it back. Listen to the very first thing she's saying. Or
to be honest, so much of it is just about not feeling like on set. And in my trailer when I'm alone, wanting to tear my skin off.
Oh, it's just constantly, endlessly thinking about yourself is what it is, huh?
Yeah,
Great.
it's I love how she's talking about the burden of masculinity. Like yeah, I feel bad for cisgendered men for, being told to be strong. Yeah, I really hate it. I
hope I
hate
got the
being
right
told
one.
that I should have positive attributes.
Let's see if this delivers. Come on, Donny boy.
In the Trauma Olympics, but I think young boys being told if they masturbate, they're evil, and they can't not masturbate. I think that's a trifecta of
everybody.
Harm.
Yeah.
No one escapes.
And also people of color, and like as it
When that girl was saying,
Wait a minute, what the fuck did that have to do with anything?
What? Turns out there are a lot of people
Yeah.
outside this
There's a
this
lot of
box
trauma,
of.
I missed what it said right there. I'll go back.
He's talking
How
about
the hell did
masturbation.
He's talking about boys and attitudes toward masturbation, and then
and
people of color.
She's like, "Oh, nobody said race yet. I gotta chime in, let everybody know I am virtuous
But
too."
does he turn the question to the girl? Because I think when she was saying yeah, in her face, she was already kind of giving the ick. She's giving the ick.
As it turns out, there are a lot of people
Yeah.
outside this
There's a
this
lot of
box
trauma,
of
Except for
yeah.
white
I
male.
think I think
does Margie
that
ever say
it's
anything?
She did there.
very easy.
So what about the trans and what about the blacks and the
Yeah, but it didn't make
minorities?
sense.
easy to see the smiling family of that Mormonism
Who's this
often
person?
presents,
Who's-
and say, "Hey, Mormonism is really good. It's good for families. It's good for all these people. Look at all these people who are blessed by this in their lives." But
Are we
if
past where you would have
look
asked
underneath the surface.
What's the other mark? It is.
I sent it to you. But also, like, this weird thing is like this image of a happy family that Mormonism presents. Every fucking culture, civilization, ethnicity, anything, anywhere. That's the fucking cover. Is a bunch of happy people together, including the fucking queer theory magazines. They're all happy.
But the queers have true happiness.
Oh, that's right. But like, yeah, what's the civilization where it's like, all of their images of the family are the wife is choking the husband, the kids are fighting each other, like Like, no,
It's TikTok.
everybody projects a happy family because a happy family is a worthy ideal to work toward. You moron.
Well, TikTok doesn't, because TikTok acts like women on TikTok. They act like nobody ever tells you the dark side of anything. Like nobody ever tells you the dark, like how difficult motherhood is. Like they don't. What the fuck
all they
world do
talk
you
about.
live in?
I know. Like I have this problem with my dad because my dad does not know how to work. My dad literally doesn't know how to work a cordless phone. So let's not even talk about the internet. And like, because he calls me up and he's like, and because he watches some news on the broadcast TV, and he like the other day he's like, well, why is nobody talking about the immigration thing? I'm like, God damn it, Dad. Everybody's talking about it constantly. And he keeps doing that. He's always like, well, why is nobody talking about the situation with the polygamists on Arizona? I'm like, Dad, it's just constantly. That's all anybody fucking talks about. Like, he's like, he's in this bubble, and so he just assumes that like he's in the same bubble as everyone else.
All right, let's see if this delivers. Go, Gadget, Creepy John.
Quickly, because I got a chance to read this book, How to Leave the Mormon Church, an Ex-Mormon's Guide to Rebuilding After Religion, which I hope you all...
Could you imagine sitting and reading that whole thing right now again? Like, that would be more boring than the Book of Mormon again.
He probably didn't read it. He just probably knows exactly what it would say because it's obvious what it would say.
By today or immediately. One of the things I loved about it was your candor, your courage to talk about really hard things. And so because you just brought it up, and because I know it's in the book, you haven't talked about
can we please
masturbation at all
stop
in terms
pretending
of your experience.
Can we please stop pretending that it takes courage to talk about trauma?
She's talking masturbation, he said.
Yeah, or masturbation, yeah.
The
stuff like
trauma thing, that's the most popular thing to talk about right now. In fact, you're a bit of an outcast if you claim to not have any trauma.
No, like the cartoon show Home Movies from 20 years ago. It's hilarious. Like, I mean, this just popped in my head talking about this, but there's this wonderful episode where, because there's the three main kids. There's Brendan, Jason, and Melissa. And Brendan and Melissa's parents are divorced. And there's this whole thing where Jason is jealous that his parents aren't divorced. And it's like, there's this wonderful scene where Melissa's like, it's okay, Jason. Sometimes people's parents just stay together. It's not your fault.
Let's see where this goes.
But because you bring it up in the book, because as my commenters are mentioning, it's not just a male thing.
Right.
Is there any part, like, was that even a part of your story at that point or not?
How many fingers?
I would say I planned a lot for the book tomorrow.
I thought she was gonna say I planned a lot to masturbate.
Okay, so
I would
stay
say
tuned. Stay tuned.
Cliffhanger.
Okay, good. Perfect.
Stay tuned.
Perfect.
I know, I'm waiting on the edge of my seat. For tomorrow. Yeah.
Perfect.
So
right,
let's save it.
Okay.
Save it for the OnlyFans. Lame.
Sorry.
Yeah, there's nothing else to talk about the Zelf on the Shelf. It's all just navel gazing. Hey, ex-Mormons, we can leave the Mormonism. I mean, people always criticize the Mormon church because it just keeps you busy. But maybe that's always been the secret to the happiness of it.
I know.
Is it got you out of your head sitting there thinking about yourself.
Yeah, there's no hunter-gatherers that were questioning their gender.
But it's one of those things, like, I don't know, because I've been thinking about this because I'm middle-aged now. And, and I look at my kid and his friends and all this crap, and, and I'm just getting this whole big perspective thing. And, like, that thing whenever they, like, interview, like, centenarians, and they're like, what's your advice? One of the things they always say is stay busy. Like, yeah. And it's like they learned that, idiots, and they learned it the hard way. It's like, it's not like they were busy the whole time. They're probably saying that because they regret all the time they spent navel gazing. And they're like, you know what? I could have been doing something productive because the navel gazing, all it got me was, a Samantha and a Tanner.
Yeah. These therapeutic ex-Mormons, so much therapy that it should be tax-free. I just can't believe how therapized I am.
I definitely feel very validated right now.
Right, privileged parts of the world comes from this false belief that there's something we could be doing now to keep ourselves safe in the future. This stems from a previously very useful evolutionary impulse that can now be co-opted by groups like Mormonism, so people become dependent on them. If there is something we can do now to make ourselves safer in the future, it probably makes sense to do that. But Mormonism constantly instills unhelpful, unhealthy fears in people, and then teaches that the remedy is to be more and more obedient to their authorities and the deity they claim to speak for. This obviously creates a lot of scrupulosity among members, obsessive self-monitoring, self-flagellation, compulsive box ticking, because they're good enough to get burned alive during the apocalypse. Normal. But they also
irony.
they're doing all of that from a place of love for God and the gospel, because if you're doing it out of fear, well, that's not good either. You'll be punished if you don't do these things, but if you only do them out of fear of punishment, your heart isn't in the right place, and you might be punished for that.
I feel like I'm getting pretty therapized.
Yeah,
the lack of self-awareness, like, it's just funny because like Jacob and Sam are the same people who are just completely no self-awareness, utterly hypocritical, like just the box checking. And I just imagine, when people list off their identities, that's box checking. Sam, I'm a non-binary feminist, all this shit, like that's what you're doing. Like,
Checked my privilege. I swear to God.
yeah, I checked.
I
Yeah,
know I'm white. I hate the fact that I'm a straight white male guy.
Oh, let's all just think about ourselves harder. Let's take a moment of silence to think about ourselves and the num-nums that we're not eating.
I did not eat some of the nummiest nums today.
What's that?
The dumb sugar thing. I posted in the Longhouse. My coworker.
Yeah,
one of
those
my
look
coworkers.
good.
No, that thing's like, because I told you like last week the thing with the homemade biscuits. Like, it's this lady from Mobile, Alabama, and she fucking bakes, and she's amazing at it. And she makes these butterscotch oatmeal cookies. They're the greatest goddamn thing in the world. And whenever she brings it in, I'm always so happy because I dip them in my coffee. And today I just sat on the table in the break room next to that box of cookies, and I ate 0 cookies.
What a fucking badass.
That's scrupulosity.
I know.
You're thinking about the future, scrupulosity.
Was your body telling you to eat the butterscotch cookies? Biscuits, sorry.
I'm proud of you. That's good. That's awesome.
So I actually, I got transferred, right, to a different place, naval facility, and it's a smaller group of people. Yeah, it's a smaller group of people, and they all bring like communal snacks. So on the break table that I sit at, there's just candy everywhere and like donuts and shit like that, and we can order stuff. But I actually had a pretty easy time. I had a pretty easy time the whole like week and a half that I've been doing this or whatever. But the time it got hard was on my way home. I went to grab my diet soda for this, and next to the gas station, there's this taco place that I go to, and man, I really wanted a taco, and I actually almost got one. And it wasn't even my scrupulosity that kept me from doing it. It was my impatience. I've figured out that my impatience is my greatest motivator, because I went up there and I was like, I'm probably going to get a taco, just one taco. I'll still be at a calorie deficit for the day. And then there's 2 fat dudes like just staring at the fucking menu. You know, that dumbass stare that people give the menu when they're not going to order any time in the next 10 minutes. Like, oh, you guys have tacos here? Like, they only sell tacos. And so I was like, yeah, they're gonna take too long. I just left. Like, I wasn't even tempted to wait because I was so impatient.
Last week, I went to the Mexican supermarket because that's the only place you can get Cipollini onions in Utah. And like, it's literally the only reason I went to the Mexican market. But I'm like, oh, good. While I'm there, I'll stop in their little kitchen because I'm on 50% of the time their chili verde is excellent. It all depends on which little Mexican lady is cooking that day. But like, and I got there and there's exactly 2 Mexican men in front of me. But then I realized that they were construction workers ordering tacos for the entire crew.
Oh God!
Like, fuck it, never mind. Yeah, I'm like, I just can't put up with it. So, yep.
Tomorrow, when I go traveling with the band in the blizzard, it's gonna be 2 days, and it's always fun and Taylor Num Num or Tanner Num Nums for them, Num Nums and drugs for them, and for me, it's sitting in the car eating tin cans of chicken in the winter. It's a damn nightmare. I hate it.
Jonathan, that's your next project is AI image.
On Neil Breen driving with the chicken with the
Chris
tuna
Hanna
can.
in the snow.
That's where I live Neil Breen's life sometimes, man.
Hey, have men ever thought about telling you how they feel while it's happening?
Yes, lots, but we're conditioned not to because it causes more problems than it should.
You know, you guys can do that, right? Like if you're having a feeling like in the moment, you can just say it.
If we could
Yeah,
just say
and
it
then-
without having to console you afterwards, we bloody well would, but it happens too often. Sorry.
You couldn't tell me.
Too risky.
You can see like just like the smoldering hate coming off of her too. Like,
I know.
just,
They're
like,
always so
I can tell you-
like. I know you're trying to pretend that this is coming from a place of, but you're being an ass.
Yeah, no. The thing is, guys, my feminist deconversion was a direct result of trying to talk to feminists about my feelings. Like exactly that. And that's where I learned that, oh, feminism is entirely hypocritical. It has no compassion. It's total bullshit. Like that's where I learned that is like, because that's things like, you know, feminists, they pretend, they say, oh, no, we're on your side, men. We understand patriarchy hurts men too. You know, all this stuff. And then that's when I found out, it's like, because, you know, that's things like, you know, it was listening to Lindsay Park, you know, where like I started learning about feminism. I learned things about like, you know, systemic sexism and victim blaming. And then, you know, when I was reading all this, I'm like, oh, and I would say this to Lindsay. I'm like, oh, this describes my experience in family law. And like, nope. Like, you should, the way the shit came down on me for saying that. Like, holy fuck.
You talking about
know?
the time they told you that you deserve to have your baby taken from you?
I hope she keeps your baby, Lindsay.
What?
That
I can't
like,
think
I'm
of
never
like
gonna let. I'm never gonna
the
forgive
only
Lindsay for letting that go.
the only person I would ever say that to is somebody who's like beating the shit out of their kid.
Well, no,
You
she
know?
said I was a wife beater. Like
Oh yeah, then
literally-
they just
not
they
her,
made
like,
up
most-
an entire
many
story.
of them, yeah. No, they all said like one of them said, I don't consider my day complete until I make a wife beating man cry. I said, I posted like this thing is I was vulnerable. Like Chris remembers all this. I posted directly to Lindsay. I said, I'm in tears. And I sent her screenshots of all of the shit that her fucking fans were saying on her fucking public Facebook group to me directly. And I just said, Lindsay, please just say something. Say this isn't okay. And instead, what Lindsay did is turn around and slandered me and said that I blamed her for what my wife did. And I blame her and all women, like, which was just a fucking lie. I called Lindsay out for that, and then she blocked me. There you go, feminism in a nutshell. But yeah, sorry to bring all that up again.
It's because the ideology has to be correct, and if
Yeah.
the story doesn't make the ideology correct, I will just craft an
No.
entire story about you that justifies all the things that happened to you. Like,
Yeah.
you know, what could possibly justify you getting your baby taken from you? Well, you're a wife beater, you're a child abuser, stuff like that. So you have to be in this narrative. You have to be a child abuser and a wife beater. It can't
My
be any.
sisters were there. My sisters were witnesses to a lot of it. And like my big sister, you know, this was one day, like this was many, many years ago, like 10, 12 years ago. And I went to her house when she lived in town for something. And like, I guess, you know, like, and that thing's like, because a lot of people would say, like, what's wrong with you? You know? And most people, I'd be like, what? Nothing. It's fine. No, don't worry about it. And like, my sister says, like, you know, why are you sad? Because my sister's total BPD. It's like, why are you sad? I'm like, do you remember my baby was kidnapped? You could have hired a lawyer. I was like,
Jesus.
oh my God, fucking bitch. Like, holy fucking shit.
Why
Then, like,
don't men be more vulnerable?
My little sister, when I talked to her, like trying to talk to her about this stuff, you know, like trying to say, like, you know, like trying to get her to reconcile my experience with feminism. And her answer is like, I always hated that bitch. It's like, oh, okay, well, that's an answer. Like, if you got raped and I knew you got raped and I said that your rapist shouldn't be in prison and you said, I think that's wrong. And my answer was, well, I never liked him. Like, oh, that's the solution. Like, that's feminism. That's feminism. And those things like my sisters aren't bad people naturally. Feminism taught them that. Like, literally, like feminism taught them that that's how you respond to male issues. That's the answer.
Well, all of those guys in their therapeutics get way, way, way more views than us and our crusty talking about
Yeah.
our feelings. Have you
Well,
ever
we need
found
some more
yourself?
platitudes, right? We need to
that-
start saying shit like hurt people, hurt people.
How many times in your life, like if you did like express your feelings to a woman, did you very quickly find yourself apologizing to her because you're consoling her because of the thing?
Yes.
I was just expressing my feelings.
No, I mean that's things like because in the last few years before I reconnected with my son, because like that thing is like for a few, like I made a conscious decision a few years ago that if people asked me if I had any kids, that I would just lie, because I learned my fucking lesson is just don't bring it up. Because like people would ask me, do you have kids? And I'd say something like, well, technically. They're like, what do you mean? And I'd say, well, he was kidnapped, and it always went bad from that. Like I know like entire like professional work and friend relationships that were potential that just evaporated because of that. Because I knew immediately they just assumed like, oh well, you are a beater, that you deserved it. There's something wrong. I don't want to touch this, whatever. So I learned like and women, like literally like it's women that put me there, because men don't react. Well, feminists, I should say, not women, feminists. It was feminists that put me there, because men don't react when you say like, oh, my baby was kidnapped. Some of them are indifferent. They say, well, I don't know about that. But, a lot of them are like, well, yeah, I know that happens. But the thing is like, with my sisters particularly, like, I mean, I really had it out with them where it's like, your religious worldview doesn't allow you to accept the reality of what happened to me. Like, because you can't be a feminist and believe that a male can be a victim of systemic gender discrimination that was put into the court system deliberately by radical feminists that lied about statistics on like just that. Like, I mean, the history is there. It's like laid out. But like your religion does not allow for a man to be a victim of a family court system, because then what's the patriarchy? Like I think Chris might remember like the thing I said earlier before Lindsay blocked me. Like I said another thing on her thing where I sarcastically said, like, I talked about my situation, and I like sarcastically like, hey, if anyone out there is with the patriarchy and wants to help me out. And I remember Lindsay said this thing like all sides like, and I don't know why you brought up the patriarchy. Like, because you dumb bitch, you claim that all of civilization is set up to help me at the expense of women. And yet somehow my baby got kidnapped. Everybody knew it. It was obvious. Nobody denied that it happened. They just denied that it was wrong. Or that I had any reason to be upset about it. Or that I deserved any kind of justice. Or that it was harmful to me or my kid. That was all the stuff that was off the table, Fucking feminists. Anyway.
You should express your emotions more,
Yeah.
but also your emotions are toxic and you should stop.
Yeah. Exactly.
New channel name Midnight Mormons says Steve Lyson says sometimes people of color have been known to endorse masturbation like Jocelyn Elders. Could that be a reference? Does anybody know Jocelyn Elders?
Oh yes. The wait, is that her? Was that, remember in the 90s when the Surgeon General, they got that woman of color to be the Surgeon General, and then she like talked about teaching children how to masturbate.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, no, yeah. I watched some when I've been catching up on old early 90s SNL, and there's a whole period where they made fun of her for that. It was really great.
Everybody talking about putting beans in their food to sweeten it is just making me think of flicking beans. Okay.
Beans? You got to really
sugar-free
cook
cake,
to get the sweet out of them.
the bad gas with sugar-free cake. Sugar for life. We need more trans men to teach us stuff. Dangerous question starts. I want your honest opinion, followed by how do I look? You look a little under the weather. Are you feeling okay? No, the Midnight Morons. Oh yeah, Flip said morons. Is that what we should be called ourselves? The Midnight Morons.
Morons. Yeah.
Yeah, that'd be pretty funny.
Why does my cam do this? I don't know.
When you get blurry a little
tilted
bit.
up or something?
Yeah. No, I don't know. Like it's
It's like
just
focusing on the
loses
background
focus.
instead of on you. I don't know.
Is the AI
So-
know to look at bucket more than me?
Last time Sam caught wind of us critiquing her, and she made a little TikTok and dogged on how many views we get because we're just lowly little tunneled in men down here.
we have to
Toxic
rely
masculine.
we have to rely on employment for our livelihood.
Look at this. 12 million views for some BYU cheerleaders.
Oh, Christ.
Man, any of you all keeping up with 12 million views with these BYU cheerleaders? I only know they're BYU cheerleaders because I looked at some of their other TikToks and it's all of them doing BYU cheerleading stuff. But did you guys watch this at all?
Oh yeah.
12 million
Painfully
views.
cringe.
You're making such a difference.
And
for
like,
two-
granted, they're doing a challenge, like try not to cringe. So I guess they're doing it on purpose, but it still makes me want to die.
12 million views. Here you go.
Do you like to cosplay? Because I love to cosplay.
What is it?
Hey, you have to be nice to me. I'm just a small bean.
We gotta stop saying bean.
That's funny.
Flick the bean. Oh yeah, bean.
No,
Bean
so
keeps coming
they're
up.
doing a cringe off. They're basically trying to see who can be the cringiest.
Oh,
They're
it is anti-comedy. Okay,
yeah,
they are doing
they're-
anti-comedy.
They're doing basically like
But they're
the
copying
most
like
disgustingly
I don't know, like
stereotypical
anime type TikToky things. Or something.
I think for the most part, you can like if you say women doing comedy, it's synonymous to anti-comedy.
I got a funny one coming up here from a lady. I'll show it to you. Hold on. But still, we go talking around about views and who's making a difference and stuff like that. 12 million views, BYU cheerleaders, and they're on top of what's trendy on the TikTok and making fun of it. Yeah, that stuff.
I want to see the rest of their bad jokes. That one was less good.
She's having a hard time keeping it together.
This got 12 million views.
There it is, right on the screen.
Dude, she's turning red in front of us.
Overload. Rawr.
That was bad. These are bad. 12 million views, good, Flip. Don't you know that less views means worse? More views means good.
Have you not seen cringe TikTok? Like these
I mean,
are
I
all
could-
like things that actual women do on TikTok to try to be cute, and it's anyway. So I would like to see the male counterpart because the male privilege should bring the view count up to.
Oh, I'm sure
like,
it would be just huge.
to where that it's like 77 views on the 100. You know.
It's a patriarchal world, man. Did you guys see the guy who went skinny dipping at the Bass Pro Shop?
What? No.
So it was all over the news. This guy jumped into the tank at a Bass Pro Shop, and I can't show it because he was completely naked and he was like scissor kicking in there. And when he was scissor kicking in it, he had, I got shrinkage. I was in the pool. He had total shrinkage. Like you couldn't see anything. And
It
so
was
the whole world-
shrinkage.
yeah, there's maybe a picture of it. It's Bass Pro Shop skinny.
I can't believe I hadn't heard about this.
Oh, I saw the
I thought I
whole-
had Google alerts on skinny dipping in.
I saw the
in
whole
Cabela's and Bass Pro Shops.
the whole view of the whole thing. I saw the real deal, and well, I didn't see it. I saw what wasn't there. it was total shrinkage. Here's like a clip of it. Like you can see that view, but you can see it, and just like imagine it's that, but it might as well be he's
$10.
Knuff. He's Knuff. He's got a
Knuff.
TK smoothie going on big time, and with his TK smoothie. This girl did a funny TikTok going on TikTok and as his wife informing us what happened.
His wife?
Totally.
Today we took the kids to Bass Pro Shops so they could get their picture made with January 6th Santa. And while we were here, my husband decided to get into the swimming pool. And it is a swimming pool. Aquariums have tops on them. If you don't want us to get in it, you put a top on it or else it's a swimming pool.
I take it back. Some women are funny.
Video of it and put it online. And I have been seeing some nasty comments. And I just have to say, if you're at Bass Pro Shop and you see a grown man take off all his clothes and get butt ass naked in the swimming pool, you need to mind your business. If you're looking at his penis, you're a pervert, and you should be looking at God's penis because yes, God is a man, and yes, he does eat meat. In our house, we like to say he might not have the biggest part, but he does have the biggest heart. His earthly penis might be small, but his spiritual penis, the one he'll have when he gets to heaven, is massive. And it's always. And if anybody from Bass Pro Shop is watching this right now, I just want to say we should get our January 6th Santa photos for free. That's the least y'all can do. The least.
That's actually pretty good. I was gonna make a comment on how she time traveled in 1970 to get her hairdo.
Yeah, I like the.
Looks
his
a little bit
penis
like
small
Farrah
on Earth, but his
Fawcett
penis
and
is huge. His spiritual penis is gigantic.
Celestial cock is massive.
That small part with a big heart.
Yeah, that was good.
Did you guys see?
Where's the man who wrote that?
Yeah. Did you guys see what Owen Benjamin was saying about Stephen Hawking?
Oh my God!
Okay, that like okay.
I forget Owen Benjamin exists until
but
Chris
the
brings him up
interpreter
again and he
thing
pops back into reality.
The interpreter thing is pretty wild.
What's the interpreter thing?
Watch this.
Just watch this.
Oh.
It's
Well, let's take a quick look at Stephen Hawking. I've talked a lot about how Stephen Hawking was not a real person. He was a character. And people say, how dare you, Big Bear? How dare you?
Big
When Dave
Bear.
Chappelle makes
I
fun of
didn't
it in
say
5
that.
years, we'll discuss it. But this is an actual translation. Before his robot voice, he had a translator who looks exactly like Larry Bird. Tell me if you think that anything about this is real.
I think, in a way, physics has been a progress away from mysticism towards a rational understanding of the universe.
Stephen, when did you first realize you wanted to be a physicist?
Oh. I think I knew from about the age of 9 or 10 that I wanted to be a scientist.
This is a little
My
weird.
activities like playing
I know.
or model railways or playing complicated games was aimed in some way at finding out how the world worked around me. I was never very good with my hands, where my models did not work very well.
Okay,
Has
guys,
somebody
we can all
yet-
see that this is not real at all.
Because I've read like because I'm not I don't have the technical skill. I'm the idea guy. But somebody needs to take this clip and replace Stephen Hawking with the Olong Johnson cat. Well, I felt like I wanted to be a physicist at 9.
Yeah, he has a whole thing too where he says Helen Keller was a total potato, and all of it was, and his Marxist handler lady said that she was there saying all this Marxist stuff, and it was all just an act put on, and that there was no way that the lady was any, cognitive at all. And both the cases, you start going like, maybe there's something to this. Maybe everything we knew about Stephen Hawking was always a puppet put on for us. I always wondered how, with his eyes just sitting there, he was able to just suddenly punch out huge computer things. But
Well, no, but that's the thing though. It's like because when he did like TV shit, they mostly did it ahead of time or they edited it. Because I've seen the clips where it shows him typing it out, and it takes a while because he has to do it letter by letter by letter by letter. And so usually the time I think they just edit it to compress the part where he's looking at every letter to make the sentences. And yeah, but it wasn't it showed it where it seemed like he was magically communicating with the computer. Yeah, and Troy said I'm saying that could have just been a script, they planned ahead of time.
I'm sure that's what it was. I mean, that's a much more likely explanation than Stephen Hawking isn't.
he was a
real.
potato. Owen Benjamin has always
Potato
had stuff like that, man. Potato.
What a
One
weird
thing or
dude.
another. I was gonna, I don't know, I'll get dinged for this. I was gonna show some Seth Meyers, and that comedian who has a what's his show? I think he's got a show, he's got I'll show the guy.
James
He's got a Netflix show, and he was just sitting there as a sidekick for Seth Meyers. And it's so good because Seth Meyers is so bad, and his reactions as if he was a sidekick. I'd probably get dinged if I play it.
Who is this? Oh.
Have you seen him? He's got a Netflix.
I don't.
He's got a Netflix skit show. It's pretty good.
Huh. That thing's like I canceled my Netflix a while ago, because I was paying $20 a month and not watching it, and the thing is like, I'm torn because I keep getting these emails from them like, come back for $7 a month, and I'm like, you motherfuckers, like the whole time you would have been happy to take $7 a month, but you were taking 20. And once I stopped, you're like, well, please come back, and I'm like, now I'm just like, no, now I'm pissed off. Like, I just don't want to give you any money because now you're copping to the fact that you were ripping me off all that time.
Oh, I want to show it, but I mean, all he does is just like totally not sell Seth Meyers as like not hilarious at all.
Put the link in the thing.
But it's pretty funny. But I think we'll get dinged if we put. Seth
What are you saying?
Meyers.
He's funny and he's being funny.
He's
in front
funny,
of Seth
and
Meyers,
yeah,
who isn't?
his sitcom's pretty. I mean, his sketch show's pretty funny too. But I will get dinged if I show it, I think. You know how we asked if the journalists themselves bought into their own shite?
Yeah.
Was that really a mystery?
Yeah. Let me see if I can find it. Where did it go? Watch this.
I'm going to try to get through this.
Oh God, this guy.
Thank you. You did 3 years ago today. Please tell me your thoughts on this third anniversary.
He's crying. He's crying about January 6th.
We are still in the midst of the same fight that began on January.
That's it. I really pointed at the guy crying at this guy.
I got
through this.
Yeah, no, that's strange.
Thank you for what you did 3 years ago today.
Sweet merciful crap, man.
It's just it was terrifying me because it just shows that like they really, 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 really believe their delusions. They really believe it.
You ready for some comedy? From the Golden Globes. Hilarious stuff. They got rid of Ricky Gervais and now it's just comedy.
Oh God, yeah. Comedy's nuts.
Privilege of playing Barbie and Ken in the Barbie movie, which is pretty impactful for people who look like us.
Yeah, we may not have been what first popped up in people's minds when they thought of Barbie or Ken, but that's changed. And we're hoping to continue to push the boundaries of the roles we can play.
No, actually, you're not what popped in my mind when we thought of talented and intelligent. That's what popped into my mind.
These are the roles we can play.
By that, of course, we mean white people roles.
Oh my God, I'd love to play white people roles.
No, me too. White people roles are the best. I mean, an alcoholic, divorced, single father fighting for custody.
Oh yeah, an alcoholic housewife whose husband's affair drives her deeper into alcohol.
How about this? An alcoholic school teacher who must put their love of alcohol aside to inspire their class of inner city youths.
Let's not anybody bring up statistics about alcohol use among indigenous peoples. Nobody.
How dare you?
Is that a movie trope?
Not talk about.
I was trying to
that.
think of the movie that got an Oscar about the alcoholic white dad who was fighting for custody for his kid.
Yeah.
It's first example there. I remember Kramer versus Kramer, but if I remember right, he was not alcoholic. He was a very, very good dad and lost custody of his kid that his wife abandoned for years that just left him there trying to figure this stuff. Have you ever seen Kramer versus Kramer?
I watched it on TV. Like I remember because like I it was one of those things where it's like at home, like it was a Saturday, and it was like on TV, and I remember it was one of those things like I was watching it, and, like I can't remember like because it's one of those movies where like you hear about it's like well it's Meryl Streep and Dustin Hoffman, right? And it's about people going through divorce. Like, if you tell like a 14-year-old, like that's the movie, you're like, well, I don't care. Like somehow it came on, I started watching it. And I remember my dad came and he's like, oh yeah, that's Kramer versus Kramer. Won an Oscar in 1977. Like it was always bugged me, like my dad, like, cause like he wouldn't, it was always something he always had in his back pocket was that he apparently went to the theater all the time and up until he got married. Because he was always like telling me all the movies he watched in the 60s and stuff. But yeah, he's like, oh yeah, that movie was great. And I watched it and like it stuck in my memory. Like I watched the whole thing. I probably shouldn't watch it now. I don't know, maybe I
Yeah,
should.
it's heart wrenching, man, because the guy gets abandoned with the kids.
Yeah.
When it
No,
was
I
not a
remember.
convenient time to be abandoned with them, and he holds the fort down, gets it all done,
No,
and
like
even starts enjoying his life over across like a year or two, and then the wife who abandoned Meryl Streep comes back.
Well, the thing about that movie, just on because I care so much about good filmmaking, and I need to watch it again actually, just because like the scene that is burned into my memory was the scene where the dad teaches the kid how to make I think omelets or French toast. They're beating eggs. And like just as a filmmaking thing, it's like when a filmmaker can make a scene about cooking something that like is burned into your memory, like that's real good storytelling right there. That's like that movie. That's what made that movie good, because like it's obviously wasn't about special effects or anything like that. It was just a very personal, emotional drama, but just really well done. Oh man, is that on Netflix? I'll pay Netflix $7 to watch Kramer versus Kramer.
What's this Oprah clip, Jared? I didn't even see that.
Oh,
You watched
it's
the Oprah
it's
clip?
it's kind of on point with the whole child free thing. It's just retarded advice from a retard.
Finish this sentence. I had children because.
And most parents will say, because I love children, because I always dreamt of a happy family, because I would be a great mother. And they don't hear, embedded in that, the staunch and rigid I. And that's
It's the kids. It's having the kids that's selfish.
No, I know.
So,
This is
Sam.
What kind of asshole has
children? I doubted the Marxists could flip it around on me, and they did again.
If anybody wants to, if anybody truly wonders why young men so often get into Ayn Rand, it's because of this. It's exactly this. It's this weird that she speaks to this part of us that like has this rabid fucking altruism where we're like, anything that you do that could possibly at the bottom of its motivation be that's not a worthwhile endeavor. But then you think about it and you're like, no, I can't think of a single action that isn't in some way motivated by self-interest.
And that's the other end of it too, is Sam and Tanner, the 15 Tanners laughing. They kept they had a whole bunch of apologetics for the first, like, don't come at us or this, that, and the other, telling us what we should be doing and that sort of deal. And we're not against kids and all that, but what they don't get, maybe they mentioned it or think they get, but people are saying to them for their own sake that they should have kids. They're not doing it because they're saying you should do this for duty and get in there.
Like, realistically, I'd prefer neither of them reproduce. Like,
I mean, like I made that joke in the comments. It's like oh, you guys aren't having kids? Good job, keep it up. But I mean, that is a cheap shot, because really, I would say like, no, you should reconsider that. Like, you should maybe consider that you have something that's worth passing on. Like,
I also love how Tanner's trying to sell.
I can't believe I'm saying this about Sam and Tanner, but like, no, like,
maybe you'd be less
have a lot to
self-indulgent and
offer.
self-involved. And
I love how
yourself
Tanner's
and
trying
being
to
caring for others.
He's also trying to sell people on getting a vasectomy.
I know,
like him,
yeah.
while talking about how he just constantly he gets like a dull ache pretty frequently in his nuts now. Like, yeah, it just kind of hurts most of the time
gets
now.
higher than a 3.
Maybe if we could convince Sam, like, you know what, Sam, you could have a kid and then you could podcast about child raising and ask for money that way, and you could be a mom coach.
You could be a mommy blogger.
You could be a mommy blogging coach, and
you could help people process their deconstruction when they have their children.
Yeah.
This is shocking for people to hear. This is hard for you to accept.
So then when you begin to acknowledge and own and become aware that your parenting...
One of the persons who appears in the Occult Feminism book by Rachel Wilson is Oprah. There's a bunch of weird occultism in her world too.
...is suffused with the prominence of the ego.
Yes.
Now that does a few things to your psychology if you're brave enough.
Yes.
The first thing it does, it makes you realize that you aren't doing your children any favor and you haven't rescued them from the ravages of hell by having them. So end your a delusion of selfless superiority, that you are the God complex, that you are the savior. You don't have to have this idea, this delusion that you rescue them. Because when you have the delusion that you rescue them, then you have this idea, this prominent impetus to fix them, and then that they have to become something of your fancy.
Everybody knows the only legitimate way to rescue children is to vote Democrat.
That Everybody Shook channel, it says, if you watch the people who are in those places like Oprah, and she runs around with those uber elite douchebags and all that stuff, it says there is not one single thing they can do that cannot be recontextualized as a sort of pushing towards eugenics, like pushing towards less kids. Like it's the main thing on their mind. Every single thing they do, whether they try to like shroud it in positivity or shroud it in negativity or fear mongering, you can read at the bottom line of it, we want less population, we want less of you.
Yeah, absolutely. Like those things, like if their dumb conspiracy theories are true, this thing is like, if it's true that American police are hunting young black men for sport, then you should absolutely kill cops. If that's true, there's literally nothing is off the table to stop them. If it's true. It's not true, though, which means that everything that you do to fight it is an act of evil. And that's things like with feminism. If it was true, if the patriarchy was real, if it's true, then everything is on the table. You need to stop men. You have to stop them. To not stop them would be immoral. You're witnessing a crime against humanity and doing nothing, right? But the bad news for feminists is the patriarchy is not real, And it's the same thing.
It's hilarious how that's bad news.
Yeah, no, I know. I brought it up a million times. Like this is like my break with the left was like 10 years ago.
Ayn Rand definitely would have loved 50 Shades. She was fucked up.
Oh yeah, I bet. But yeah, no, that's the whole thing. Is like, I said, like, because like if the Nazi conspiracy theory is true, it's not. But if it's true, then everything they did is justified. The reason that the Nazis
I'll give you your justification.
Because it wasn't true.
No, look at this.
Uh-oh.
How do you explain that?
I'm glad we finally got there. This is the weirdest story. This is the weirdest
funniest memes ever. And then watching Ben Shapiro spurg out over it is pretty great too.
Well,
everyone is being wildly anti-Semitic about this. Well,
people got wildly anti-Semitic.
I know I saw on Twitter that I don't even know who it was, but like because they commented on like that video clip, and it said like if you gave Goebbels $100 million, he couldn't make anti-Jewish propaganda this effective.
The Yiddish catacombs, these in dark, what is that? Bloodborne? Someone dropped a quarter down. Oh man, that is pretty anti-Semitic. Imagine seeing a Jewish guy crawl out from a secret sewer tunnel in New York City, not having your phone out to record it, and trying to tell people without sounding like the most anti-Semitic person alive. A secret entrance tunnel. That brings up this. Where was it? I thought I shared that other guy who said he said he told a bunch of people online. Here it is. No, it's not it. I didn't want that on there. I'll find it. Where he said I hear Yiddish. I hear Jewish people under my apartment speaking Yiddish. He said it in like November on Twitter, and all these people are like, whatever. And then they like came back on Twitter and said, everybody owes me an apology. That's one of the funny things.
No, that's the other thing is like
it's pretty good. It's a video.
Because in my mind, like I'm kind of thinking about like, well, like you just imagine if you talk about the story, you can hear the voices going, "You're just anti-Semitic," And then like, because I was reading the BBC today, because the BBC finally said something about this story, and I just thought it was funny because like apparently like the leadership of that organization that runs that whatever it is out of that building through, like they said, like, no, this is some radical young members of our community.
Yeah,
but,
and
you know,
they
radical
have
or
like
not,
a
like,
weird.
they threw them under the bus, you know.
They
But
have
like,
like
there's
a
this-
weird different thing too. Like they follow some other weird guy who already
but
died.
like, well, no, and see, this is one of those things about how, like, you know, because of the nature of our whole world and everything else, like that, like, you know, you can't criticize Jews, right? But like, which is stupid because, you know, there's this gigantic spectrum of Jewishness, but like secular Jews, like nobody dislikes the Hasidim more than secular Jews, I'm sure. Because they're the ones who do the most griping about them. And like, this is the funny thing is because, like, you know, especially like from our world, where like the ex-Mormon world, where you can shit all day long on Mormonism and especially fundamentalist Mormonism. Oh, you can shit on them till the cows come home. But God help you if you bring up the Hasidim, because they're fucking weird. And like if you look up Lev Tahor, 2 words, Levtahor. Look up Lev Tahor if you want to go down a rabbit hole of creepiness. But like, you know, if you look at like in Israel, there's a whole controversy in that the Hasidim don't have to work and they have their entire lives subsidized by the state. And this is like a major, like an ongoing issue in Israel, that like the secular Jews and the Reformed Jews and like every kind of Jew that isn't the Hasidim, they're upset because like why are we subsidizing these weirdos? But like if you've ever heard of there's a guy, a comedian, he's fun, he's called Joshi Berger. And he's fascinating because he was born and raised in Brooklyn, New York, and yet he has a thick accent. And it's because he was raised in a strict Hasidic community, and his first English word he didn't speak until he was like 12 years old. But I'll never forget, because like he was on the old Skeptic's Guide to the Universe, and he would do, you know, they used to do science or fiction. He used to do like a version of science or fiction where it's like, is this really something that the Hasidim do or not? And I remember the thing that he talked about was that there's a special kind of underwear that male Hasidim can buy. And what it's for is that you have your wife wear it when she's on her period. And whatever the stains are on that underwear, you take to the rabbi, and the rabbi will interpret the stains and tell you whether or not it's okay to have sex with your wife because her period is actually over. Like, is it the actual period or is it the part after? And like, and this is a real thing. Like, you buy a special underwear for your wife to wear to stain it with her weird menstrual shit. And then you take it to the rabbi, and the rabbi tells you whether or not it's okay to have sex with her. Right now, like, you can just imagine the feminists with the patriarchy and all this stuff, you're like hitting their heads. But then they've got this weird thing. It's like, well, you can't criticize Jews.
I know.
Nobody do that, you know. Where it's like, but it's like, because you know, like, but that's the thing. Like, I think the fundamentalist Mormons are weird. I think the Hasidim are weird. Like, but I'm tolerant, you know. Like, as long as you're not breaking the law, as long as you're not raping babies and digging tunnels under Brooklyn. Like, Godspeed. But like, if you're literally undermining the structural integrity of an entire New York neighborhood, that's a problem. That's an issue.
Here's the guy on Twitter. Look at this, November 7th. There are Jews living under my apartment. I hear them. It's like they're digging or something. For the record, I live at ground level and we do not have a basement. And then December 11th. I swear I keep hearing Yiddish under the floor in my New York apartment. I live at ground level and we have no basement. Some of you owe me an apology.
Man, talking like that's things like that guy. Can you imagine? Like, am I going insane? Like, am I a Nazi and I don't know it? Like, this whole time, do I hate Jews? That's my best. That's the best one.
I knew it. What's in the tunnel, Kyle? Oh man, this one cracked me up. The Minecraft.
That's great.
We have on our thinger there. Anyway, yeah, that whole thing is it's pretty wild. Yeah, and then, like you said, they got like another sect. They went into it on Lotus Eaters today. That sect that followed some weird guy that they thought was some sort of, I don't know if he was like a savior or a messiah like character, but he's already dead. But they all followed him. But they do have a disproportionately high level of claims of sex crimes in that area too
Yeah.
with the group.
No,
That's
look
pretty
up
good.
Joshy
Easily-
Burger. Like I said, he's funny. Like, but he's interesting because he talks about all this stuff because, like, you know, he got out of it as an adult. But yeah, no, it's a weird thing. It's like, it's something I've spent some time doing is going down the rabbit hole of weird Hasidic, like the extreme versions of Hasidim, and it's weird. But like left to horror is one of the scariest things ever. Fortunately, there's only a few hundred of them. But like, yeah, like they're like the worst of the worst of Judaism going off the rails.
Are they the ones that circumcise with their mouths?
No. That's all. That's just Orthodox Judaism. That's
Yeah.
actually that's
But
not
they
the
also
weird
do that.
stuff.
Yes.
Wait,
But
what?
yeah.
That's Orthodox Judaism.
Yeah, because like let me think. Like there's 5 levels of Judaism. Let me see if I can find it again. Like according to like Israel, like they have 5
Yep,
classifications
they
of
do
Judaism.
that. They do.
And let's see, damn it, where is it? I can't find it now. Let's see. Oh no, that's not it. But yeah, because like there's like Hasidim, there's Orthodox, there's like conservative, reformed, and secular. I think I'm going off of memory. I can't find it now. I remember this is a whole. It was a while ago, and I'm pulling a lot of things from memory. But like I do from time to time, I go down rabbit holes. And a few years ago, I went down the rabbit hole of Hasidic Jewry, and it's fascinating stuff. But like, yeah, no, it just cracks me up because like there's this whole like I already said, there's this weird thing. It's like, well, you can't criticize Jews, right? But like, you know, for all the reasons we criticize fundamentalist Mormons, all of that shit is true of the Hasidim times 1,000. Like it's crazy shit that goes on in some of those communities.
Wow.
Yeah, it's wild stuff, man. And I still don't know what's going on with the why exactly it's there. Who knows why they're? I mean, some people said they were digging the tunnels because of COVID or something, so that, like a way to keep going when they were trying to get blocked off. But then I don't know if that's like the real reason. But
I just put in like trying to find this list, like because I can't remember how to find it exactly, and I just put in the most anti-Semitic thing into Google. It said 5 kinds of Jews. Internet, please tell me the 5 kinds of Jews, like because that's obviously retarded.
And what
Like,
did
I
it pull
know,
up?
well, because no, this is because like this is all of the different like different types of Jewish ethnicities. But I know there's a thing. Here we go. Okay, let's see. Is this? Because I know like the Israeli government has like this an actual breakdown. Damn it, where is it? I know I'll find it eventually. Damn it.
Well. You want to see? I might have seen this skit before. I don't want to get off the Jewish stuff though. If you're still going on the Jewish guys.
No, let's stay on the
Jewish
Jews. That's always a good plan, is to not get off of the Jewish thing. That's great for everybody.
Let's talk Jews.
Well, anytime we're talking the global elite.
Oh my God. Okay, but this does remind me of something that did come up just recently, because my dad is getting old and he's very worried that he's going to die soon. And I mean, that's not completely irrational, even though my dad is completely irrational. But my little sister has his power of attorney. And he told me that he called my little sister and said, like, you know, just saying like, my wishes, I'd like to leave some money to the Jewish synagogue in Salt Lake. It's like, okay, that's kind of weird, Dad. But also I want to leave money to the Masons. And my fucking little sister snapped back at him and said, why are you leaving money to a patriarchal organization? And I want to go to fucking Los Angeles and open the door and say, leave him alone, God damn it. Like, what the fuck is your problem? Jesus. This is my little sister gave my dad shit for naming his dog after Rudyard Kipling. Same one.
Really?
Yes. My dad's dog is called Rudge. And my dad named him Rudyard Kipling after Rudyard Kipling because that's my dad's favorite poet.
Rudyard Kipling is problematic?
Both of my sisters independently gave him shit for doing that.
That's wild.
Yeah.
So I had more stuff on the Ackman and the plagiarism and all that sorts of stuff, and people talking about it. But then somebody brought this up in Mormon TikTok.
I think it's almost comical, the silliness of those people who say, "Oh, I found another plagiarism of Joseph Smith. Look, you got this from Charles Buck, or he got this from Adam Clark." No, Joseph published in the church newspaper most of the sources when he found a good source for an idea that he reaffirmed, right? Whether it's baptism for the dead or progression through the kingdoms, or Thomas Diggin, he was excited to find another gem that he could incorporate into the restoration. We have to shift our model of understanding Joseph's conceiving of himself. He was an inspired syncretist. That's how he saw his work.
The fuck does that mean?
Inspired syncretist.
What is a syncretist?
Syncretism is the combining of religions. Like voodoo is a syncretic religion of indigenous animism with Catholicism, or Caboclo. You know all of those weird religions in Brazil that are like, yeah, those are syncretic faiths. Or like Baha'i is a syncretic faith. Sikhism, some people call that a syncretic faith because it's trying to reconcile Islam and Hinduism. The Druze is a type of syncretism. There's a lot of and I mean it's like syncretism. Like there's no escaping syncretism. Like if you uncritically look at the history of any religious movement, you find that they like adopt like other beliefs into their belief system, and that's syncretism.
So, what Claudine Gay, was she a syncretist?
Oh, yeah. Yes.
Actually, there's a lot of people who describe that as yes, that's what they're doing. They think it's fine to just go and repeat and steal all the different stuff from the DI things, and that's just how we do it. And there's actually several people on Twitter who tried to make that apologetic for it. He says Terrell Giving wants to turn Mormonism on its head with his ideas as the Sear Stoner. I've seen him.
Here we go. I found
the
it.
Lobsters
Okay.
brings it out.
There are secular Jews. Haredi are the ultra orthodox, religious, traditional, and traditional non-religious. Are the
And which ones
Israel.
slurpy the penis and which ones don't?
The Haredi and the Hasidim, I think.
That's a weird thing. It's weird to me that that's legal.
The
Yeah.
weenie kissing Jews.
Usually, whenever, like, if you see in men's rights activist groups, that they've actually tried to go out and push different things of stopping circumcisions entirely and calling it child mutilation. And usually, what gets it stopped are these guys.
Yeah.
Are there
like that for me is like a major, like that to me is like an archetypal conundrum in the religious tolerance, like the classical American religious tolerance thing, is like, because I do think, like, I mean, I think that circumcision is objectively a form of genital mutilation. I don't think people should do it. One of the single greatest regrets of my life, because like if it had been up to me alone, my baby wouldn't have been circumcised. My baby was circumcised because my ex-wife wanted it, and I knew better than to say anything. I watched my son be circumcised, and that is one of the most traumatic things I have experienced. And I immediately felt so ashamed.
No,
And-
I didn't want to circumcise the first kid, and Morgan wanted to, and we kind of argued about it, and I ended up giving up, and we did it. Then by the time we got to the second kid, she's like, "Yeah, I don't want to do that to another kid." So,
yeah, see, like for me, it was the opposite, because like my big brother was born in Brazil, and in Brazil, unless you're a Jew, you don't circumcise boys. But in America, like, because here's the other thing, in America, I remember the fucking OBGYN was like, "So do you want to do circumcision?" Like they brought it up. We didn't have to ask for it. They brought it up.
No, I know.
That was weird. Like,
But
hey, do you want to cut off
beyond
your-
all that weirdness, and the ones who usually do get it stopped when the legislation tries to get off the ground to get it stopped in any way, shape, or form, it is these the Jews and the Orthodox and the Hasidic, and yeah, they do that weird slurpy thing, and You know,
So, like, circumcision is already weird enough to me, but the Slurpee thing, that, like, how the fuck is that legal?
not only
Like,
that,
I'm all for religious tolerance, but if your
there's a
religion
bunch
says
of
we have to suck
cases.
baby dick, then no, you don't get to do that. I don't.
There's a bunch of cases where they give herpes to the kids.
Yeah, no, there's a famous thing. Like, there was one rabbi was responsible for like
gotta blow my nose.
millions of herpes cases amongst little baby Jew boys. But
Yeah, if I start saying something like you should not be allowed to suck baby dicks, and you say, "Well, cool it with the anti-Semitism," I'm like, no, I
Yeah.
won't. If that's anti-Semitic, then fine.
yeah, like it's like another place where like this, like, you know, I have to admit, like, my beliefs in like liberty and tolerance, like, there's a major conundrum, and this thing came up in the last few years in Poland. I'm not sure where it is because like it was in the BBC like 10 years ago. There's a whole thing where like, because Poland, like, they passed a law about slaughtering animals, and they said, like, you know, animals have to be unconscious when you slaughter them. The problem is that both Jewish and Islamic law says that the animal has to be awake and conscious when you slaughter them. And so, like, there was this kind of issue like 10 years ago where in Poland they were proposing a law that would basically make halal and kosher meat illegal to produce in Poland, you know, which is a real problem. I'm not pretending to have an answer. I don't know the solution to that because, like, I can see the side of like, if we have to kill animals, wouldn't it be nice to do it when they're not conscious, you know? But that's also like, you know, that's something we can only have with modern technology. I had a friend, my late friend Kent Fillmore, was the most brilliant guy I ever knew. He died unexpectedly about 10 years ago, but he was obsessed with the Druidic culture of ancient Great Britain. And he told me about like the Druid slaughtering practice, which is kind of interesting, which is that like when they wanted to kill a pig or something, what they would do is like they would create like a I don't know, like a tunnel, like, you know, I don't know what to call it, but like walls on both sides. And at the end of that little path would be some kind of food that that critter loves more than anything else. And then they had this thing called the blow of mercy, which is that like they would strike the animal in the back of the head in such a way that they never saw it coming, you know? And like this is all part of the way they do it. Whereas like in Islam, there's this whole other thing where it's like, no, the animal has to be alive and conscious, and you have to slit its throat while making a prayer to Allah, you know, which is a kind of a different thing, you know. It's like yeah, I don't have a good answer to that because like I like the idea, like, you know, I don't think it's morally wrong to eat meat, but I agree that like minimizing suffering is a positive thing to do. But like both Jewish and Islamic dietary laws say that no, the animal has to be fucking awake. It has to be awake and healthy when you cut its throat. Like, that's rough.
That's pretty wild.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't even know what to say. Yeah, maybe just make the dick slurping illegal. That seems like how does a reasonable society not just kind of agree on that? I guess we're not a reasonable society. I should not say that. I know that we're not.
Here we go. According to the laws of the Biha Halal, certain requirements must be met before an animal is slaughtered. The animal must not be a forbidden substance as per the Quran and the Sunnah. The slaughter itself must be done by a sane, mentally competent adult Muslim. While textual evidence of the Quran suggests that no other name than Allah be pronounced while slaughtering, some Muslim scholars hold that mentioning God's name at the time of the slaughter is a must. They differ as to whether or not forgetting to do so or leaving it off intentionally at the time of the slaughter. I love this fucking Star Trek fucking argument about this shit. All right, let's get to this.
There was a fiery argument about this at one time. You know that you can like hear it in your head. No, you must say the name of Allah before you slaughter.
Yeah. It's crazy.
This is haram.
Yeah. Where is this actual process, though? I don't know. Let's see. But yeah, like, I think, you know, because that's things like, you know, obviously with Jews, it's a little bit extra sensitive because that whole time when that country tried to kill them all.
I know.
You know, like and like that sticks in our memory. Like I'm not Jewish, but like I feel sensitivity to that.
Yeah,
I don't
sure.
want that to happen again.
But now you say
I
something
think
like,
that was a bad idea.
Quit lopping off the skin of your baby dicks
like,
and
yeah.
sucking on them, and then they're like,
But definitely, like,
never
yeah, like,
again.
You're
I
in
thought we all
America-
agreed never again.
In America, female circumcision, if you are a part of that, you can go to prison. And I think that's right. But do I want Jews to go to prison like for performing circumcisions? Like I can see the problems forming, you know?
Would you regulate them stopping that? I think that would be something. That would be something that.
Well, like here's like
I
it's
could
just
see
it's the
it.
example of patriarchy because here I am saying like no, like if I found out that they were doing female circumcision, I would be entirely against it. And here I am saying like, well,
I think if you followed like a non-aggression
tolerance.
principle type stuff, though, I mean, I think that's aggressing against the.
Well, I
Yeah.
would say that female circumcision is just worse because you
I don't know.
take it away
It-
the
so it-
ability to really even feel sexual pleasure, right?
Oh,
Well, they claim that
gajillion
happens
ago-
sometimes to boys.
Well, so that's the thing is like there are so when you say circumcision, there's a whole range of things. Like so apparently they're like, I mean, this is all going from memory. I think like many years ago, I watched a YouTube documentary where a guy went in depth on all the forms of circumcision. And they're like certain, like I think it was in Yemen or something, where like male circumcision involves cutting the penis from the tip to the base of the scrotum and like peeling back, like it's fucking crazy
God.
shit. And then the thing is like with female circumcision, like it goes all the way from like, you know, like male circumcision kind of like cosmetic, just kind of cleaning up, you know, for lack of a better term.
Making them not look
All the way
okay.
to like, yeah, all the way to like completely excising the clitoris and all that shit. Like, so like, you know, there's like everything, like there's ranges of it, you know. But that's the other thing is like I need to find this, but I remember like it was about again 10 years ago, and I remember reading in the BBC there was a whole thing. It was like Uganda under enormous pressure from the UN and various leftist organizations banned the practice of female circumcision and made it a criminal offense. And then they arrested one of like Uganda's premier female circumciser, who was a woman. And then tens of thousands of protesters took to the streets demanding her release, and they were women. It was the women of Uganda who took to the streets and marched in the capital and said, "No, we want our circumcision." Like so, like
Women are oftentimes the greatest enforcers of patriarchy. This is still
Oh,
patriarchy we're talking
that's
about.
right,
Let's
yeah.
be clear.
even when they're indigenous and black. That's right. I forgot.
Yeah, I don't think much of it's really defensible. It's like one of those things that one of those contradictions you get down to. Like you want to live and let live, and then it's for sure obvious the female genital one, and now that, and then people get to the circumcision one, and I don't think you can be consistent and not look at that and say this shouldn't be happening. Not in current modern day understandings. Hate to break out the science on you, but that's one that's probably pretty real deal. That's not good. It's not. There's no sort of defense of it really. But
I don't know how to defend it.
Forrest didn't get his son snip. Casey says Joseph Smith did talk about other religions. He admired Islam, Kabbalah, and bringing best ideas together, whatever. If there's anything lovely or of good report. But Kwaku says he's a theosophist, which brings all that stuff together. But don't get me off into that weird Gnostic stuff again. All my boys are Gentiles, says the Seer Stone. America, the Middle East, North Africa are only places that do this shit. Not a good look, says Forrest. Risto says, cool it. Slurpees, a new just dropped. That would be a pretty we'd be called the anti-Semites pretty fast. Casey, when are you going to start a new religion and bring all the best ideas together and whatever? I'm ready to join if it's a reverse, there's a reverse tithing. Casey says, if you'll be my Oliver Cowdery, I'm in. That's the problem with Mormonism. The religion turned us into a bunch of lazy ass Joseph Smiths. we all just go borrowing stuff. The big idea is all talk. Where can we recruit some Sidney Rigdon and Oliver Cowdery? Spencer Kimball tried to stop private slurping. Really? Spencer Kimball
Yeah, that's
tried
what
to
I was
stop
wondering.
it?
That sounds crazy. That's
For Mormons or for like tried to politically, like legally stop it? Absolute haram. Has Dan McClellan weighed in on the circumcision? I'm just trying to follow the data over the dogma. I don't know if he has. He's weighed in on the modesty.
we should ask him because his opinion is actually very, very important to everyone.
Yeah.
I can't decide till I know.
Until Dan tells me what the Bible means, I have no way of knowing.
Nobody does.
Here's the. I'm gonna go to his.
Oh, we thank thee, O God, for Dan McClellan to lead us
stuff.
in all of these days.
So he's renegotiating the Bible. I'm sure he could renegotiate out the circumcision. Says there's not a single syllable of the Bible that commands women to do anything at all regarding the curves of their body. And when this doofus was called out on that fact, he couldn't produce a single verse. He could only cheerlead as others tried and failed to do so. And whoever that was deleted their post. There are a bunch of people saying pronouns in the bio. You know that's not true. You're just looking for rhetorical prophylaxis for your inability to competently engage in actual expression.
You didn't even insert that in there, did you? You actually said that. Fucking hell.
I think some people try to come back with like scriptures and stuff, but I mean, I think it's true. Like nothing says, "Hey, don't look at the naked." There's some stuff of like nude women or don't force the women to undress type stuff in the Old Testament. But most of them are just talking about like gouging your eye out if thinking on lust and that sort of stuff, which doesn't necessarily say, "Hey, the woman shouldn't do an OnlyFans." But I guess you would have to negotiate that all in, and you could negotiate it to be that you should do an OnlyFans if you are, or you are totally Christian if you're doing the OnlyFans. I guess. I don't know. Dan McCann.
Dan McClellan.
Dan McClellan. Never gets boring.
We did all of them. I'm running out of clipsy poos. There's more stuff on the DEI. We saw that John Hopkins put out a DEI statement, and even Elon Musk called it out. And then,
so yeah, she like. I mean,
she
retracted it, but like that's one of those things where it's like that wasn't an accident, lady. You're not fooling anybody.
Whoopsie.
Yeah, there it is. John Hopkins just sent out this list of people automatically guilty of privilege, whether they know it or not. Males, they just get this email. You're going to college and you just get this email.
Yeah. Oh, by the way,
males, whites, Christians, mid-aged people, able-bodied people, middle, and owning class.
Yeah. Do you remember? Do you remember that South Park where with the BP oil spills? And the CEO goes on, yeah, we're sorry. We're sorry. That's what that felt like to me.
No, like I don't know, but like it was the most insincere apology ever. It's like no, like the other thing is like this was just like a complete like left field. What the fuck? Like no, that's totally in line with your ideology. You goddamn know it.
We don't know where this came from.
What the hell? Since when? Like, no. What happened is that you were not prepared for the backlash because you thought that there were more people on board with your evil ideas than were. Like, and that's the thing. It's like, I just wish that, like, we could be like, okay, like, first off, you're fired. And also, like, we at Job Competence reaffirm the belief that all humans are humans and we're not going to discriminate on the basis of anything.
What does the I can't read the thing. It's not
just an MLK thing. What you got to do is look into this lady's background and check her plagiarism record.
Yeah.
That's what we're gonna do from now on.
That's
I love that one guy that's like panicking, like we're gonna get rid of all of our academics if we punish us for plagiarism. Oh no!
Oh no! Oh no! What will we do without academics?
So good.
You mean we'll only be left with a couple of academics that haven't?
The thing is, I'm gonna go downstairs because I'm like I need to go to the grocery store, but unless Dan tells me how my car works, can I even drive? Like, what will I do? Is it okay for me to drive? Will I be oppressing any indigenous or minority people? Does
You're
my
just
car?
you're just blithely increasing your carbon footprint, but okay.
I just blithely carboned all over the planet Earth.
Yeah, this was a comment on the Bill Ackman thing, saying that he's coming full force looking for plagiarists, which I think is why they pulled that thing about Joseph Smith being a plagiarist, because some of the stuff, like, Dan McClellan came out saying, "Did you know Donald Trump is a plagiarist?" Which we brought up last week. But I like this meme.
Wrath of the great and powerful Oz. I said, come back tomorrow.
If you are really great and powerful, you
General
keep your promises.
Do you presume to criticize the great Oz? You ungrateful
Humanities, social
creature,
sciences,
think
the internet.
yourself lucky. Oh, the great Oz has spoken. Oh.
By the way, I learned a thing that on Spotify, if you go to the Wizard of Oz album, there was a whole number called the Jitterbug that was cut from the final film, and it's great.
Really?
Yeah, it's a great
You
song.
have it recorded?
Yeah, no,
You
it's
should
on.
link
Yeah,
it
it,
to me.
it's on. I know I can't remember where I went down this rabbit hole, but I ended up going to find it and listening to it on Spotify, and I thought, God damn, this is great. Like, I understand like the movie was running long and they had to cut something, but what a great song.
And it was written by a theosophist whose
that's
mother was a super nutty feminist, a cult feminist. I think she was a part of the group that helped write that feminist Bible.
I share a birthday with Frank Baum.
Yeah, well, he's a theosophist. You should be a theosophist. That'll get you back into Mormonism, man.
Yeah,
Unite
exactly.
with the one. We can all get back with the one. I'm running low.
No, that's okay. We're hitting 3 hours, 2 hours and 52 minutes. I think we did okay. Considering that we haven't asked for any money yet.
Oh
I
yeah.
think we're doing okay.
If you guys want us to keep making content like this, then please consider donating to our Patreon. We have our Venmo information up there. Fuck capitalism, except Taylor Swift.
Exactly.
Did you see that great meme? It was a picture of the world if everybody's carbon footprint was like Taylor Swift's.
Oh my god! Yeah.
Oh, I didn't see that.
It was just like lit on fire.
Yeah, something like that.
But like, because it's just such a stupid thing. Because it's like Taylor Swift. Like, when we say Taylor Swift's carbon footprint, Taylor Swift is a corporate machine. That's not the right word, but like Taylor Swift is a giant team of hundreds, if not thousands, of people.
Oh yeah,
all working together to entertain. So like to say like, oh, it's her idea. Like, no,
yeah.
Oh, we forgot that the whole thing of Dan McClellan saying Latter-day Saints are the Nazis.
Oh, really?
Oh yeah.
Oh, that's right. Oh yeah, no,
Latter-day Saints on social media who are straight up Nazis. There's Flip saying to act like these views are accepted or even tolerated by the vast majority of Mormons is conscious slander. The guy who's posting that stuff up is also Polynesian, which frequently the case with those Desnats.
Yeah, no, everybody knows the famous problem. The FBI is dealing with the Polynesian Nazi issue.
Dude, I was at this bar, and every time this bar has a smoke room, and we'll go like smoke cigars in there or whatever. Every single time I'm in there, I feel like it's purgatory, and like it's where I meet all the other damned souls who are floating through purgatory. I always meet the weirdest fucking people. I met this really nice, huge Polynesian dude, and we're talking. I look on his arm; he's got a swastika tattoo. What the fuck is this? I don't.
Oh, he's just a Jain. He converted.
Yeah.
I don't know. The world's a crazy place.
Men enjoy mentally unstable women more, study says. There's not much of a fucking option anymore. But we're all crazy right there with you. We've all driven each other crazy. We're just nuts. We're nuts.
I remember when I went on a mission, the one thing my brother said that I think was true and correct is he said, "You will have a worst companion, and you will be someone's worst companion."
I wonder if I was somebody's worst companion.
I don't know.
And I'm sure there's somebody out there who's like, "God damn it, fucker."
Yeah,
The guys who are like all gung ho, super nuts, I kept up with them. I hated it, but like I didn't hold them back, and they would have hated me if I did. Oh yeah, there was one guy who I was the one who was trying to keep him to the rules, and he wanted to go see his girlfriend. Yeah,
There you go.
But he still messages me like here and there to say like, "Hey, don't forget the homies. What's up?" I never messaged him.
All righty. Do you think anything stupid will happen between now and next Thursday?
Probably not.
Oh, we're covered. It's good.
Oh, you guys know that we're creeping ever closer to open war with Iran.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
Right before we got on the podcast.
Are we? Well, that's
the
wonderful.
UK and US with support from a bunch of other countries that don't matter very much. Sorry, Australian listener.
Yeah, there's only so much America left.
Sorry to our one Australian listener, but BBC mentioned that your country was on board. But yeah, we did a bunch of strikes against the Houthi rebels in Yemen. The Houthis are being backed by Iran, and Iran just seized a Greek-flagged oil tanker, saying that it's all going to shit.
That's not good.
Yeah.
Oh man. Well, maybe it might be World War III by the next time we're talking.
We're too old to be drafted.
Yeah, we are. That's great.
Also, I have a Brazilian passport, so I can just escape to a shittier country if this one goes to hell.
That won't be part of the World War.
No,
Brazilian World War. You'll be what was that thing?
It's-
You'll be the flying pigs. What's their flying pigs?
the smoking the snakes that smoke, the pipe smoking cobras.
Pipe smoking cobras. Yeah.
Yeah, you showed that one last time.
I want to be a pipe smoking cobra, but I don't.
No, the Brazilians are funny because the in World War II, their army patch was a snake smoking pipes, and their air force was an ostrich with a machine gun because ostriches like Brazilians can't fly.
Oh man, that reminds me of my one. I love the Adam West Batman when I was a kid. Because the first time I saw it, I was young enough that I thought they were trying to be serious.
You did?
Yeah. Well, I was like 7, and I was like, they thought this was good. This is insane. But I remember my favorite. Well, it's hard to pick a favorite, but one of my favorite gags was when the Riddler writes one of his ungodly long riddles in the sky with the plane, and Robin always solves the riddles, and it's like, what's dangerous and sits in a tree? And he goes, a sparrow with a machine gun.
That's good.
How
stuff.
did that show ever get made? How is that?
Yeah, no, that's one of the things where you just wonder, like, what was going on, like, where there was some like TV executive who listened to that pitch was like, yeah.
No, it was wild. The first thing we
saw
was
the 70s?
Batman and Robin sitting.
60s.
It was the 60s. Batman and Robin sitting on a buoy that they thought they were supposed to save someone from. It's an electromagnet, so their belts get stuck to it and they can't move. The bad guys just start firing torpedoes at them. And Batman's like, must get to the bat reverse charge. And he pulls it out and he presses the button on this thing and it makes a sound and he's struggling with it. And it blows up the torpedo before it gets to him. Second torpedo blows it up. The third torpedo comes and is confounded. It's out of batteries. And then in the very next scene, like it pans away and you see the explosion, but you don't see what happens. And then the very next scene, they're in the bat boat and Robin's just like, golly gee, Batman, the integrity of marine life. And he's like, yes, Robin, it was noble of that poor defenseless sea creature to hurl itself into the path of that oncoming torpedo. It gave its life for us. That's fucking amazing. That's the first thing I saw of that movie. And I was like, I need to watch this.
I can't believe that got me. I've been watching a bunch of wrestler WWE and WCW wrestling YouTube stuff because there's all sorts of stuff about the history in there.
You watch that Hitman Heart documentary?
Oh yeah, I've watched a bunch of the stuff by now
one
because
was
I
pretty
want to
good.
see the Iron Claw movie that just came out.
Yeah,
But
that's pretty good.
um, I can't believe wrestling ever existed as a thing, let alone became like this mega multi-billion-dollar thing either. Like it's still every time I watch it and I see different promos or I see different fighting things that go on or different jokes that they put throughout, I can't believe it's real. I can't believe that it's
That
part of
South
our
Park
world.
episode's great. That's not wrestling. This is wrestling. Dude, that's gay.
But I can't believe like so many like overgrown macho men decided to entertain people that way. Like
Well, if
to
you would have
me,
pitched me the idea, there's a lot of things. I realize I'm not a guy to recognize good ideas because if you would have pitched me that idea, I'd have been like, get the fuck out of my office. Are you an idiot?
oh yeah, I remember when I always joke that like if I pretend like I'm supposed to know what's good taste or what will sell to people. I remember when NSYNC came out and I was laughing some girl out of the room like they already tried New Kids on the Block, you idiot. Ah, this is
That's
over.
not gonna work.
Nobody was
Justin
wrong
Timberlake's leaving him. It'll never work out for him.
I feel like I was into wrestling, I think, for one summer in 1990 because my cousins were into it. And then I feel like I came to it late and grew out of it all within 1 year. Like I really
got to
think
get into it again just for the
Well,
concept.
no, like
all these
that's like
overgrown macho men just
No, that's
entertaining
the
the
thing is,
crap
like
out of people in the goofiest ass
I
way.
feel the same way about wrestling as I feel about drag shows, which is I would love to write for them. I would never want to be a performer, but I feel like I could write.
Yeah,
for
there's a lot of- they actually do get good writers for 'em.
Yeah, because drag and wrestling, like it's the same thing. It's men dressing up in costumes and pretending and doing comedy and drama. Like that's all it is.
It's so funny. It's so funny that I mean, to me, sorts of different people would probably look at that as a reinforcer of the patriarchy. And if you ask me, it's anything but. It's the whole entire thing
Yeah.
of saying like, look at these guys who just wanted to have fun, do fun, funny things for entertaining of crowds, and it was like exercising the patriarchy demons that were supposedly there but never really weren't. They were circus clowns. That all of their whole like, oh, the big tough man, whatever, is just being performers, just like you said.
Yeah. Man, I don't even know who it was, but there's Joe Rogan interviewing some retired wrestler, and he was just talking about Andre the Giant. And he talks about how, like, because he was wrestling with Andre the Giant, and they did some move where Andre the Giant sits on him, and Andre the Giant just farted right on his face because he knew he could.
Oh man, that's got to be terrible. That's
They
I
did
can't
all
imagine.
sorts of stuff like that to each other, man. They were
Yeah.
constantly raising each other, but
Then an Andre the Giant fart. That's got to be
Yeah.
just fucking
Because, like,
wretched. Especially the amount that guy
uh,
drank. Holy
Yeah, no, like it's the
fuck.
same guy. Like he tells a joke about how, like, they had to drive from like San Francisco to San Diego or something like that, and Andre the Giant was like too big to sit in the seat, so like he rode in like the back of, I think he said like it was a mail van or something like that. That he bought like a 36 pack of beer, and the guy's like he thought they were going to share them, and Andre the Giant just killed all 36 beers riding in the back of a van.
That dude's liver had to have been so fucked.
No, but his life was fucked. Like the other thing I remember this
Yeah.
guy saying is that because Andre the Giant would travel all over the world because he was a wrestler, and like when he would stay at a hotel, he had to shit in the tub.
Oh my
god! Literally too big for the toilet.
Oh,
and like the
God.
guy had to like shit in the tub and like clean it all up, and God only knows. Like, yeah, just
The waffle stomp that shit down the drain.
Waffle Stomp. That's the name. Can we change our name of our show to the Waffle Stompers?
Stomp.
It's my
Yeah.
favorite Urban Dictionary term ever. Morgan hates it. I use it so often. Anytime we go to like an Airbnb, I'll take a picture of the drain and it'll be like 2 out of 10. Waffle stomp ability is not where it should be.
I never heard Waffle Stomp until now, and yet it's one of those words. Like, even though this is the first time I
know
ever
exactly
heard
what
that
it
term,
is.
I'm like, I know exactly what that means.
Yeah, I don't need an explanation.
All righty. I think
Anyway,
yeah, for 1 week.
Thanks for partying, surviving
Goodbye,
the winter.
everybody.
You can do it.
Bye bye, Buckles.